What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strydent, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. It has been a while, but got some good things in store. As you can see, there's a ton of, this isn't my biggest sit-down special, but there's a ton of stuff here to talk about. I have even more stuff because it's been such a long time, but I want to talk about the important stuff. I've got some cool things too that are unique and special to my channel specifically. You may have seen and heard talk of these things on other channels, but you're going to get to see them up close and personal here. One of which you kind of see off to my right next to my hand or behind my hand. But a lot of things have happened since the last time we spoke. A lot of positive stuff. One of the best things is that JoeFest happened, and Invincible Toys, the company I am the art director for, we did very well. We got to unveil some things there. There was some competition, kind of, because, you know, we see it more as we are all eating food from the same plate. You know, we're all kind of starving and we're in the same shelter, and we're all being fed, and then, you know, we're giving our thanks back to the people who are feeding us, essentially. But at the same time, some of us, you know, have been eating the exact same foods. And then we're talking about it in reflecting in our work. And that leaves room for some competition, healthy competition, or for two versions or similar versions of two things that are in the same genre. There's many things in the same genre, as you can see in the background. But yeah, I'm gonna go over all that stuff. It feels good to actually sit in front of the camera again. I've been so busy and, you know, kind of stressed with life, but it hasn't been as bad as it was earlier this year. I figure, you know, what better way to deal with or escape some of the stress than to sit down and chat about my favorite, you know, subject, which is action figures. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I just want to apologize for how long it has taken. It's been a few months, but, you know, I kind of don't have a schedule the way I once did because things are so busy. You know, now working on a toy line, doing art direction for a toy company, then having a full-time gig, and then having a YouTube that doesn't necessarily produce the you know, the attention or the views and stuff. I don't think people are sharing the videos the way they used to or the way they should. I know partially it's because I tell the honest to goodness brutal truth, and that's not always looked upon in a positive light. But at the same time, you know, it doesn't change the big picture, and the big picture is the returns on the channel are kind of small. I respect what I'm getting, but because it's so, you know, people kind of show up when they feel like it, which you should, you know. But at the same time, if you show up more consistently, then I have more incentive to consistently put out more stuff, because then I know my audience is actually paying attention, you know, and engaging. I'm doing a little experiment with my Discord where I have a very small group of folks from the, you know, the community that we've built up that have been consistent on the channel. They've been essentially busy on anything that I post. When I was doing the Patreon, they were there. They were constant on and consistent on the Facebook. So I kind of reached out and had them all gather up, and then we kind of shoot the shit, and I share updates and things like that there about as often, a little bit more often than my Instagram. So, you know, the more activity I see, the wider net I can cast, because, you know, again, I'm a smaller channel. I've been around for a long time, and I would imagine that with me having been here as long as I have, that there's a certain level of information, a certain quality of information, a certain level of integrity that you come to expect And I'm not going to just tell you that everything's great just because it's great. And even when it comes to our own products at Invincible Toys, if we fall short, I'm going to review them just like I review anything else. So don't expect, a whitewashed, sugar-coated version of information to ever come out of me, because that's just not what I'm about. So with that, let's just jump into talking about all these wonderful figures. Got a lot of good shit to show you. So, a lot of cool stuff. There was a decent amount of indie representation at JoeFest, which was nice. I didn't get much time to pick up very much from JoeFest. I picked up three things from independent companies, including our own. One of them was from our own. I have a case coming for the rest of the crew. But I picked up a bunch of, stuff that I was looking for that I found at good prices. That's more mainstream, like classified stuff. You guys got me down that damn rabbit hole, man. I blame you, Sam. But no, it's a fun rabbit hole to go down. I'm not really complaining, If you can have fun with them, then there's no problem there. But I want to talk real briefly about our toy line, Fist. Now, Fist was created by Esteban Cifuentes. He is also known as Don Man Art on Instagram. And he's been working on this for a number of years. And he kind of came to us to help him get this going here in the US. A number of things had happened that kind of derailed Fist initially. Let's see if I can just stand him here. And, him coming to us was what allowed us to kind of push this in a way that would allow people here in the US to see the line and understand, what it brings to bear. Because I think a lot of people had the wrong idea with what Fist actually is and what it's supposed to do. Now, the things I'm going to go over are real quick because, we have so much stuff to talk about. We have a lot of other figures to talk about, so I want to focus on just, the basics when it comes to this figure and kind of give you a really quick overview. Esteban was inspired by 90s G.I. Joe, as you can tell just by looking at this guy. I mean, and he's not even the brightest, but you can tell by the simplistic design, like the bulbous shoulders and things like that, and then the web gear that has just a knife attached to it and whatnot. Even the gun, it's based on an AK, but it's got that futuristic styling to it. But it's not so futuristic that you can't tell what things are. I've been hearing and seeing criticism online about the very things that are actually intentional when it comes to the line. And it makes me see how little imagination a lot of collectors tend to have. And all of the things that they complained about are things you can see before you ever get it out of the box if you just look at the promo pictures. It's one of those things where stylistically, if this doesn't appeal to you, there's no need to pick it up, and it's pretty obvious when you see it. Nothing will change when you get it out the box. One of the things that's also a strength, some people may see it as a weakness, is because it's so simplistic in approach, you pick it up and you play with it, and there's nothing to it. He doesn't come with extra hands, no extra heads, although there is a card on the inside with on the inside of the package with a QR code so that you could download STL files for alternate heads. There's 2 heads in general that we're hoping to do down the line that are of characters that are in the comic. You can also pick up the comic at invincibletoys.com. You can find all the links for everything on our Instagram page. I'll have the links forever. I'm going to add them to my videos so that you guys can see them. But that way you can get alternate looks, and if you want to build ranks, you can build ranks. And you can have one with, a slightly different deco, or with the goggles down, or with the mouthpiece down, because he does have sculpts like that. Or you could just switch the heads. Some of the parts are definitely the same size as some of the Joe heads and stuff, so you could swap things if you want. But we didn't make them with that in mind. You know what I mean? That wasn't the purpose. But you could figure out ways to do it. But the strength is the joints are very nothing's stuck when you get them out of the package. I've seen people say parts were stuck, and if they are, just a little bit of heat will get them free. Paint and stuff. These are standard factory issues on any mass-produced figure. But all the joints work really well. They're real straightforward. We don't do the fancy pull down because it's unnecessary if you have a good range of motion. Everything works well. You'll have to glue all these little pouches on, and the holster for the gun, if you want to put the little communicator up here, and the knife sheath. The knife sheath is loose, so what I did was I put a piece of cardstock. I just folded a piece, pushed it up in there to give it a little bit more, to fill it up a little bit more so that the knife won't fall out once you put it in. These are all things that, like I said before, if you collect figures, then this is all no-brainers, because there's tons of classified figures that have these same issues and people don't talk about them as much. They just fix them, or they do something so that it's to their liking, and then they move on. I think we deserve the same level of respect, and as a smaller company, being able to pull off things that you're seeing the professionals do and fail at times, we deserve a little bit more grace. So overall, I'm really happy with this guy. This is actually my favorite character in the comic. Is the trooper, the fist trooper. You'll see in the comic, the fist team, it's almost like there really are no good guys except for these guys. They're the most innocent, ready to actually defend their world. And when they realize what's actually going on, it's like a shock to the system, and I love that. So, I kind of have to go back on my criticism early on. When we first started, I remember me and Landon were saying maybe swap the roles and make the fist guys the bad guys, the fist troopers, and the fist team, and then make the orcs the good guys. Well, there are no real good guys except for the guys who are forced to go and die in droves for the cause. So it's kind of cool, and it also mirrors things that were going on in Colombia's history, which I like. Also, this toy line is the first toy line designed by a Colombian and produced in Colombia, in the history of Colombia. So we're on the history books for something, which is pretty dope. Like I said, we're a tiny company. We're new. We're doing what we can do to get out there and get in the lexicon when it comes to toys. So we're making history with that, which is pretty dope. I didn't think that's what we were going to be doing. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking about the futuristic combat soldiers, and we had some issues with the factory, the original factory that we were using for those figures. And Fist was already in production or on its way to production around the time or right before we ended up having issues with the finals that we got from the factory that we initially were going with in China. Now, this isn't indicative of every factory in China, because if you know your shit, 90% of what we buy comes from like 4 or 5 factories in China. Everything. So sometimes you run into issues with some of the smaller factories, and I think the factory we were using was a little bit on the smaller side. Even though they had done work for Hasbro and other companies, things happened because of COVID, but they weren't communicative with us about what was going on, even after everybody paid their money and, our Kickstarter, allowed us to provide the funds to get started right away. And so because they didn't do their part, we had to pull out. So they essentially screwed us with what they gave us as a final. And it was because people who did the amazing work that you guys saw at PowerCon, somehow those guys are all gone from the company. So whoever's left behind is just not as good as the guys that were there. And, ultimately it fucked up the process. We lost a lot of some connections, I'll say. And we're working on reestablishing them through Fist, and then future things, you know, on the horizon. We've got a lot of good shit on the horizon. I guess while I'm talking about Invincible toys, let me bring out a first for me, because I've been talking about Invincible toys and other things that other people have been making. Let me talk about stuff that I have been making. So, those of you who have been with me for a long enough time, you know that I've talked about trying to buy the rights to Cops. So for years ago, I was trying to. The price got a little out of hand, and I was just like, you know what? I can make my own concept that's loosely based or related to what's going on in Cops. So I came up with SWAT 2249. If you're at JoeFest, you got to see my prototypes. And I have them here. This is the prototype for Javelin. Javelin is a trooper, and I'm going to put this up in a way that we can actually, you know what? Let's do this. There we go. I'm going to hold her in front of the camera so you can see. This is the resin, really, I want to say near final prototype, because she's got all her articulation in there. Actually slightly smaller than what her actual size is going to be. So you can see her standing next to the Fist Trooper. She's tiny, right? Her actual size is more along the lines of what we see with like the recent Marvel Legends, what's her name? Black Widow. And I have another one that doesn't have all her gear on, that's sized up like what you see in that package right there. So, yeah, she's going to be on the smaller side, but not like as small as what you see right there, for all those who are asking questions. Because I was showing people, and we tried to stand them next to the Fist Troopers and the Orcs and stuff so that people could see their size. And people still had a ton of questions and such, and I was like, you know, the comparison speaks for itself, or at least it should, you know. But here she is. Here's another version without her armor. And here she is standing next to the SWAT, I'm talking about SWAT, but you see the difference. It's like teenager and then adult, you know. But she's on the small side, and that's the point. She's small, but strong. One of the cool things, though, is all this armor, this chest armor, the shoulder bicep piece, the stuff on her wrists, it can be removed. Her belt, her guns go in the back. There's the one in the holster. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then here's the pistol by itself. It's very reminiscent of a Glock. I'm thinking of like sizing these up so that they're a little bit bigger and chunkier, you know, because that's the aesthetic I'm going for. This is her ponytail. She has like a braid, more indicative of the size that it will be. You can see the feather and everything, and it is articulated. Right now, since everything's in its fragile state, I don't really want to screw with it, but you get the idea. But you can see all that awesome detail on the suit underneath all her armor. She's gonna be a beast, man, detail-wise. So I'm really geeked about just seeing this. I've been looking at these guys, these gals in 2D, you know, on my computer for a couple years now, 3 years, 4 years, and now I've got them physically. You know, I've got a couple of them physically. And what's also really cool is that the wave is always is going to be it's 4 standard figures and then like a deluxe figure, and we call them HVTs. The HVT stands for high value target, for those of you who don't know. I mean, by now everybody knows all the law enforcement and military speak from all the video games. Then we've got this guy. We've got the man. This is fucking Captain Byron Ness. Now, for a lot of you who have been with me, initially, some of these elements were going to be part of my redesign of Bulletproof. But since I ended up going for my own thing, I pushed the design even farther than what I initially had in mind for Bulletproof, you know? Like, he's got the shades like from Deus Ex. the Adam Jensen shades, because I like that, where you just touch the thing up here on your forehead and they kind of slide out of those occipital lobe type coverings, you know? I love that. But this dude here, I mean, he's a beast. I mean, look at him standing up next to the Fist Trooper. He's huge. I'll put in other images as well. He's bigger than the Sarge. He stands about the size of a McFarlane figure, and that's the point. He's supposed to be the powerhouse. And it's funny because everyone else on the SWAT team has a code name, and he does not, because you need to know his name. And he commands the room. I mean, just look at the stance. Luke did the damn thing with the sculpt, but some of you have seen this image, and I'll put the image up, of Mr. Ness, Captain Ness, in my design process. And so while he was sculpting, we were trying to find parts and, you know, shapes that we can add to the organic feel for these big ass robotic, you know, cybernetic arms, because he's supposed to be like the most high tech of the bunch. And there's little things we're gonna do to show you how powerful he is, and like effects to go with these crazy looking arms. But dude, I'm so geeked about this. I mean, even though I can't get this gun out yet, look at the size of it. Dude just looks like such a beast, you know? And we're like 95% done with this design. So we figured, hey, let's just do a maquette and get the maquette out there so that people can see the raw power and just stature, and just feel how tough this guy actually is or will be. And yeah, I'm just, fuck man, I'm so amazed. Again, my homeboy Luke, you are the fucking man. You did God's work with this shit. I mean, Luke does amazing work to begin with, you know? This is what happens when artists work together and we just let each other cook. It's the way you're supposed to do it. You get the people that you want to work with that have the skill set that you're looking for. And if you trust their process and their abilities, you let them work. And that's what me and Luke do. That's what Landon does with us here at Invincible Toys. And that's what's going to make all of our lines unique enough to warrant the attention and longevity. Because one of the things that I see with a lot of indie creators is they have an idea and then nothing else. You know, they have the idea of what they want to do, and it always mimics some old toy line, but then they don't really push it in any like meaningful way. You know what I mean? Like, add your spin on it so that the kids of the future look back on this after seeing their parents, or maybe they'll discover it when they're old and they'll be like, holy shit, this reminds me of such and such, but it's different because, and then, you know, we have that little, I don't know what you call it, the spin that they put on it, you know, to make it their own. So, you know, for me, I like RoboCop, I like cyberpunk stuff. I loved Deus Ex, and I love that universe. So a lot of that DNA, you know, even little things about Ghost in the Shell. The anime itself is pretty edgelordy, the manga and the anime, but there are elements to the world of Ghost in the Shell that I love, that you'll see present in a lot of the logic, the design logic behind SWAT 2249. So yeah, keep an eye out. There's going to be a lot of cool shit coming from us when it comes to that. But I told you we were cooking, man. I told you we got some cool shit. And the reception was amazing because the second night of the convention, JoeFest, Fresh Monkey Fiction, I think, I don't know if it was Chicken Fried Toys got the license, and then they went to Fresh Monkey Fiction to do their 6-inch versions of Cops. But however they did it, Fresh Monkey Fiction revealed their Bulletproof figure. I didn't know about this because I was on the show floor, and I didn't get to go to the panel. You know, I didn't get to go to any panels. We were supposed to have the first panel the first night, and it was a disaster. There was a lot of miscommunication and things like that. So, you know, I was just getting off the plane too. I got off the plane, everybody was set up, and apparently we didn't get to do our panel. So that was kind of a mess. So I kind of we focused more on our table and what was going on. But anyway, they revealed theirs, and people came to me asking me if I was the one responsible for that figure. And then they saw Ness, and they were like, holy shit, this is your guy. Someone else revealed Cops figures. I was like, yeah, that must be the people who got the license, because I backed out, because I was like, what I wanted to do was kind of modernize Cops, like modernize the aesthetics, still have it with the zoot suits and the cool spats and all that shit with the 30s, 40s aesthetic, but, kind of make it more hardcore, And when I stepped back and I was just like, you know what, this is kind of ridiculous. I can make this without that IP, without spending $30,000, $40,000. Let me just do it. Let me just sit down and fucking get in the kitchen and make something. You know what I'm saying? So, SWAT. But anyway, people were comparing Ness to Bulletproof, and I was like, I mean, the comparisons are they're kind of obvious, right? Because that was the inspiration. But Ness goes off in his direction. Bulletproof still looks sleek and retro, really retro, almost to the point where it kind of feels like you just bought the same figure from back in the day all over again. And I think they're going for that. I mean, it's pretty obvious that's what they're going for, with just a few modern touches. Whereas for me, I'm trying to build something that's like its own thing. It's super futuristic and, power. He's supposed to look like he is like the guy. He is the leader. A lot of times leader characters kind of get a generic kind of approach, and I didn't want that for him. I wanted him to be the guy that no matter how many times we release this guy, you're always going to be like, fuck. You know what I mean? When you see him, you're going to be like, shit, he looks so damn strong, because that's his thing, He's the most advanced cyborg in the world that we're creating. So, yeah. SWAT 2249, everybody. I told you that when I reveal it or present it, it will be special. So that's where we are with that. I'm going to move these guys off the table as I finish talking about them. All right, next up, I want to talk about Savage Crucible. So you guys know I'm a fan of Sword and Sandals. I love Motu, as you can kind of see in the background. I've got a big Motu cool thing up there. We'll talk about her shortly. But I love Sword and Sandals. I love the fantasy genre. I even love the dark fantasy genre to a point. I think over the years it's gotten played out because people kind of want to stay in that area. And there's some tropes that get like beat down. They use them so much that it's like, shut the fuck up. Do something else. Everybody wants to be Guts. And it's like, yo, Guts already exists. Can we get something else? So I got into Mythic Legions, but I kept having issues where I would buy a figure from them, I'd play with it for a little while, and then I would feel like this figure is not as awesome as I was hoping it would be. It's always missing something. Either the articulation is lacking or it can't. It's always articulation for me, honestly. The designs and the characters are dope. The lore is dope. But it's the figures themselves that always fall short, Limbs come off, like Bardrick, man. Bardrick hurts my heart, because if he could do more with the axe, that figure would be amazing. A freaking vampire hunting elf, who's pretty much the he's second to the the whole like elf faction or whatever, second with what's her name, Artemis Silvercord, and then Zalana being the goddess above all the others. Like that's cool to me. I love that. And a black elf, like I always wondered why we didn't get like varieties of the elves, but now they do that, and I think that's dope. And I'm not talking about for inclusion purposes. I'm just talking about colors. I'm one of those kids who, when I was a kid, nothing felt better than getting the 64 crayon box. And I had several different ones. Like there was the metallic one, there was the flesh tone one, there was like the neon colors, which most of them didn't really work that well. But then there were the standard colors, you know what I mean? And then there were like earth, and then there were metal, and then there were, you know what I mean? There were all these different, I had about 8 different 64 crayon boxes, and I used every fucking crayon because all the colors are dope to me. All of them work. Some of them doper than others. Some of them not so dope. You use them to accent other things, but there's a use for all of them. And I hate the fact that you tend to see in fantasy, they only use a certain set of colors and they always correspond to the same things. So I always gave the Horsemen props for how their characters are so colorful and they're so lively, but the figures are stuck in a bygone era, and you never hear that from the fans when they critique the figures. It's like you're not supposed to say that they did something wrong. I mean, they're masters at their craft. We know they can do modern figures. We've seen, you know, various McFarlane things. We've seen Super 7 stuff they did. Those turtles they did, the first batch, they're awesome. They're just missing some of the modern articulation, which is the issue. But they're still awesome, even with the limitations that they have. So cut, you know, to a couple years ago, the Savage Crucible guys pop up. I couldn't believe it when I saw what they were doing. And I'm not interested in lizard men, but when I saw their lizard men, I was like, yo, I have to get some. And I saw the barbarian figures that they did and the Fregetta homage that they did. And I was like, holy shit, I want these guys. When I saw that, what is his name? Krieger, I think it is, could hold his sword with 2 hands above his head, I was like, what? I need this, because that's what I wanted to do with Gorgo. I mean, I don't have the Aether Blade because I'm not paying $40 for a fucking sword. You know what I mean? Like, no. You fucking secondary prices on Mythic Legions are fucking insane. You would think that if it's a toy line that's aimed at rich people, they would be giving you the kind of articulation that's commonplace with like a Figuarts or even Transformers or something, and they don't. So I was just like, fuck that, you know? So I used to use him as my Strydent stand-in, and I haven't been doing that anymore because instead I'm using the V-Toys Knight of War. My son was like, he looks more like Strydent than the other guy. And I was like, I guess you're kind of right. I just wish I had horns to go in the sides of his head instead of the top of his head. But I think what we're going to do is just 3D print a Strydent head and paint him up to match, and then I'll get that going. But these guys here, man, these guys here, I'm telling you, like, just look at that. Look at that. Never been interested in lizard men. I always thought they were cliche. They were corny. There was always that one weird kid in school who was always focused on like the monsters when it came to any toy line or any, you know, franchise, any movie or whatever. And he would always like those characters. And I never understood it. Well, with these guys, I fully understand it. I mean, look at this. Do you not see what I see? Look at how awesome that is. And then I'm going to show you the thing that like, it just fucking blew me away, because it's the thing that's lacking from most toy lines. Now, Vin, who I'm holding right now, or Nin, I think is his name, Nin Villamar. I don't have his both of his holding things hands, but he's not wearing both of them right at the moment. But you can still get the point across without that. Look at that. This is my obligatory Marvel vs. Capcom image. You know, they always do that. Like that. There you go. Anyway, you see what I'm talking about? And then with all this armor on, all these spikes, be careful if you get this guy, because some of the spikes, I mean, they're kind of soft, but they're pointy enough that at the right angle, they will stab you. And you will be unhappy, because I know that happened to me. I was in the hotel posing this guy the night after the show was over, when I was kind of just decompressing. And I was pissed a couple times. Look at that. How the fuck? And you see, when I had pointed this out before, people got mad at me for saying that about Mythic Legions. And I'm like, I'm not telling you not to buy them if you like them. If you like them, you like them. Nothing's wrong with that. But by now, butterfly joints should be commonplace for most characters, especially if they carry a big sword. You know? If they're going to use weapons that, like melee weapons, you need to be able to do that with. You remember when I was talking about... I was doing the review for Saber 2.0 and I had her in all those sword poses and stuff. And I was talking about how most toy lines can't do these things. Well, here's one that can. Look at that. If he's circling around you like... You know, like, look at that. And then, coupled with the waist movement, you can get good, really good, like, cuts, if you want to make him cut something. And his mouth even opens, so look at that. That is so nice. I mean, like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, I already knew when I was looking at this stuff, I was like, wow. And when I was at PowerCon, I got to sit with the art director, Eamon O'Donoghue, and we talked about what he was doing with Frazetta Girls, and he was playing with their Barbarian and the Barbarian from Savage Crucible, and it was just like, you're seeing all these things that make perfect sense, you know? And I was just like, man, I can't wait to get a hold of these. I mean, I missed out on the pre-orders because I was too busy adulting. And sometimes that sucks because, you know, you can't get all the toys when you're adulting. But, yeah. But this guy here is my favorite. I'm going to get all 5 of these guys. I mean, just look at all that. That's just nuts. And you can kind of get his head up a little bit more, but like even like the torso bend, like the fact that it's low, and then with the knees bent, you get that cool actual crouch. Look at the way the shadows fall on this guy perfectly. It's dope. It's just dope, you know, from head to toe. I think these guys they have a hit on their hands, and I hope that the things, like I did pre-order the a bunch of figures from the Necronominus wave, including Necronominus, because he just looks like a crazy ass death god of a villain, and I want to have one of those in my collection. He can go with the Messenger of Death from Hellboy 2, and I'm going to, I have Sir Gideon Heavensbrand. I have him, and I have Uxak, and I have Elijah, I think, and I have Maxilius, and there's someone else. I have to think about it. I think I have like 4 or 5 of them on pre-order. And they supposedly have new bodies that are more articulated. I'm hoping that they're on the level with this. Actually, let's do it this way. Get the Conan vibe going. And they do their hands the same way I'm doing mine, where you have, it's kind of like McFarlane, where you have the joint that's like a universal, and then you plug the hands into it so they can do the, you know, north, south, as well as the east and west, which is really awesome. It just depends on where you turn them. But I mean, like, this guy here. And the weapons, man. That's a beautiful sword. I've seen customs of swords like this before, so it's not like it's, you know, something we've never seen before, but the quality of how it's done, that's where we got to give them props, you know? They're really doing some great work with these. Let me move back a little so you can see it more clearly. Really doing the Lord's work. I mean, look at that. So you can put his arms back this way. And there you go. Money shot. Look at that. I had him running. I did all these poses. I'll show you them on I'll put them over the screen while we're talking, because I had a whole day, a day and a night in my hotel room to just sit and think and, you know, kind of marvel at some of the stuff that I picked up, because, you know, like I said, I didn't pick up very much this time because, one, I'm at a different place as far as the adulting goes, you know, taxes going up and shit. We've kind of all been hit pretty hard. So I have to cut back on what I'm getting, how much I'm getting, you know, because before I was like, yo, I'm just going to get the whole wave of the things that I'm like super about. And I'm still to some degree doing that, you know, but I have to be careful because I also got to be able to spend on supplies for the stuff I'm making, because, you know, I'm making these things too. We are making these things. So got to do that. But check this out. Looks so ready. Look at that. Just picture him flying around like look at that. I'm telling you, like, it's like no comparison. You can try to do some of this stuff with your legions and you can kind of approximate some of this, but there's just something about how nimble these guys are that really, I don't know, man, it really sells it. And apparently these guys are like the Imperial sentries are like super cops in Lemuria, and there's 5 of them. I think they call them the Claws of Lemuria. And they just look badass. So I'm planning on making that little squad. I'm gonna make 5 of them, and I'm gonna have them traveling around the outskirts of Lemuria protecting people. They may be villains in this, they may be working for villains in the actual story, but you know how it is. I tell stories anyway, so I can't not, you know, make my own story when it comes to these guys. I have to, you know, partake in the storytelling myself, because these guys are fucking phenomenal. I mean, look at that. Oops, don't want you to fall over. Look, this guy is nuts. I gotta pose him with the big ass swords, the magical swords on his back. I love those too. These guys are just full of win, you know? And it's weird how people are downplaying it, and it's kind of like you gotta pick one side. Dude, I like both. I like Mythic Legions and I like Savage Crucible. I like the Savage Crucible style more. I love the sheaths. I love the swords. I love the articulation of these figures more. So I'm going to be getting more of these. I think after I get Necronominus, depending on how that line goes, that wave, if all the improvements are made, then I might get more. If not, then those will be the last ones I get. You know what I mean? Like, it's that simple. I don't want to keep on spending money and I'm still asking for the same things and it's not being done, as if it can't be done. And, you know, some people don't mind that. But, you know, every line doesn't have to be 100% focused on customizers, because customizers will customize regardless of whether or not the line was made for them to do that. So, you know, I'm not necessarily geeked about every single fucking line having these custom ready everything, you know, like, that's not for me, you know. And like I said, I make figures, so like, it's not for me to constantly be seeing that be the norm and that's the focus. Meanwhile, collectors, just regular old collectors, are being ignored because we don't always buy 10 at a time, you know. We don't always buy, you know, a bunch of them at a time with the intent to customize, you know. That gets on my nerves. So these guys, I don't know, and they have plenty of customization ability. Jesus, they have plenty of options for you to customize these figures. Look at his eye just peering out like that. Like, so fucking cool, man. So fucking cool. I love it. I love it. I mean, you're watching me play with this guy in front of you. I love it. I love it. And you see how easily I can make the poses. I can manipulate his arms with no problem. I don't have to pull things off. Like I said, they're wearing full armor. All this armor is removable. It's nuts. It's nuts. The fans, this is the one thing I will 100% agree with Michael French, Retroblasting. He once said the fans are, well, several times, he said the fans are making the best shit, or the best stuff. And he's right. The fans are coming along out of the blue, and they're making everything the way that we've always been wanting. And it's possible for the big dogs to do it. They just don't want to because they already have these dialed in fan bases. But the problem is we're getting old, you know? We're getting so much older. So when we're gone, it's possible that a lot of that shit is going to have to change if they want to continue to do what they do. So, you know, it's kind of nice to be a part of the change that we want to actually see, and see toy lines actually doing things differently. But yeah, Savage Crucible is killing it. And they all come with a couple alternate hands. I think the named characters are between 40 and 50 bucks, or 30 and, how much did I spent 90 for these two. Nin was 50, he was 40. So, and then they have other options that don't come with as much stuff, and they're 20, I think, 20 or 24.99, something like that. And then they have armor sets and weapon sets, and they're pretty vast. Like, you're getting 3 trays worth of stuff, you know? So yeah, customization, you know, making each of your characters unique, it's easy to do with these guys. So I recommend them highly. Another piece I got to add before I move on is those figures are coming from a independent company. So Harvinger Studios is fairly new. The independent company. Clearly they had a good plan and they were able to execute really well. They're getting a lot of usage out of utilizing the same mold, you know, multiple of the similar molds. And you got to give them props for that. That's kind of the benefit about Sword and Sandals. I don't have that benefit with cyberpunk, you know, cops and criminals and stuff like that. So, yeah, for me, I'm going to try my best to break that stigma and only reuse molds where it's necessary, which is with the army builders. And we got some dope army builders planned. But yeah, just wanted to say that. Show them some love because they're fucking phenomenal, you know? It's kind of crazy to be working and producing things in the same world where those guys are producing things, and to have people who like those and like what we do, and you know, I also like what they do and I like what we do and I like other stuff as well. It's awesome. Like next month Monster Force comes out, and I'm telling you, that's gonna be $300 or more that I'm just like, take this. My body is ready, take it. Because I mean, they're putting out some amazing shit. Let's talk about Axel. So this is, I want to say Jazzwares did this. They did a Sega line, and there was a lot of weird controversy about this guy because he's 5 inches, 5.5, something. Like, he's closer to the Loyal Subjects figures than he is to like Fortnite figures. And I'm like, get over it. Just get over it. Everything doesn't have to fit with everything else. Some stuff needs to occupy a different space on your shelf. You don't have all the thugs that go in this game, right? So clearly he's going to be him, Axel, Adam and Blaze are going to be one-offs, if they even do the rest of them. The way it's looking, I almost kind of guarantee that they're only going to, this is it, you know? They did him, not Golden Axe, Altered Beasts, and there was some other character, and I can't remember who they did. They didn't do Shinobi, which I would have been all over that. You know me with ninjas and stuff. But this figure's actually not bad. He can do all the things Axel does. The back fist, you know, the classic ass back fist. And I'm a Streets of Rage fanatic. Trust me, I know that game inside and out. That back fist, the freaking Grand Uppa. even though he didn't have it when he was wearing these clothes, because that came from Streets of Rage 2. So he had similar clothes, I guess. He had very similar clothes. He was wearing like a sleeveless shirt. Grind up, yeah, I like it. I like it. It's not the worst. It's not the greatest figure. It's a very just standard, kind of middle of the road figure. But he's pretty, you know, he's pretty well articulated. Especially for a 5-inch figure, this is not bad, you know. If only they would do, like, the Power Rangers out of their costumes, like this, and then sell these alongside the suited Power Rangers. So then when you pay $30+ for a Power Ranger, it makes sense because you're getting 2 figures. And the morphed version is slightly bigger than this. It's an inch taller because, you know, he's super powered, kind of like Shazam and stuff. You know, the kid becomes the adult. And they even did butterfly joints on this guy. I mean, look at that. And they work really well. So you can make him like charging. His torso joint is actually not bad, so you can have him like that weird super that he had in Streets of Rage 3 when you rotate the controller and hit X when your meter is full, your second meter is all full, and he did these weird spins like when his fist was on fire, you know what I'm talking about? There you go. Or when he's jumping and hitting you with that knee, you know? Anyway, I like it. I don't have any issues with it. You can even get him in his stance, and it looks good. It's a well done figure, you know? Well done figure. Very unique. It's a one-off. It doesn't necessarily fit 100% with everything else you have, because why should it? It's a whole different function. I'm starting to get really tired of hearing the constant need for everything to fit Marvel Legends. You know, it doesn't need to. You can play with all of them together or separately if you want. If you have a vast imagination, you just play with them together. That's what we did as kids. That's what we're trying to cultivate. Limitless imagination. You just play with them to get, like, have you ever had a Transformer to turn into a car that you wanted to pretend one of your larger figures drove? What do? Did you break the Transformer and try to rebuild him out of cardboard or something? No, you just pretend that he's small enough to get in the fucking car, drive the car around. Or if, say it wasn't a Transformer and you have a Hot Wheels car that you want I don't know, like say you had a Hot Wheels Knight Rider, but you have a 5 or 4 inch figure that you want to pretend is Michael Knight. We've been there. I was there when I was a kid because they didn't, other than the larger Michael Knight, there was no Michael Knight figure. And I found the large Michael Knight, and then I had a Hot Wheels kit. I just pretended like he stepped into the fucking car. I mean, I'm a kid at the time, and I'm literally pretending that the car is a real car anyway. Why would I be limited by the scale of the figure, you know? And if you're taking pictures, the sky's the limit too, because there's so many tricks you could do to fudge the size of whatever it is. Fucking exercise your imagination when you play with your figures. You know, as adults, we should be better at this, not worse. I know society kind of pushes us to focus more on adulting and being a tax-paying member of society. And some people don't have this escape, but we have this escape. We should be flexing these muscles while we're utilizing this escape, you know? I'd go nuts if I couldn't sit down and lose myself for a couple hours, you know, every now and then on the weekends or here and there during the week when I sit up in my man cave before I start drawing. If I couldn't just pick up Wonder Woman and make her fight something, fight Ares, or make her fight some parademons or something, like, you know what I mean? Or pick up my Street Fighter guys and just make them go at it with Kazuya or something from Tekken. Like, I want to play with the figures, you know? I want to kind of rest my brain from the rigors of the day-to-day grind and focus on something not so serious, something not so generic, I want to use my imagination. So that's what I do. Next up, let's talk about this beautiful boy right here. So this is not the SH Figuarts 2090 Spider-Man 2099. This is actually the knockoff. I was not going to spend $100 on that figure. I'd never spend $100 on these kinds of figures because they're just not worth $100. Yes, there's a lot of cool stuff going on them. Yes, there was a sizable amount of engineering to get him to do a lot of the things that he does, but is it $100 worth of that? No, it's not. No matter what they say, it's not. It didn't cost them that per figure for the license. The materials never represent that price or reflect the price. And why is it that in every other instance the materials will match the price or at least be close, but when it comes to toys we don't expect that from them? I think that's bullshit. And that is why I was like, yo, for this I'm going after a bootleg. It just so happened that I watched Leo Legendary's channel, and he did a review on this, and he explained the exact same thing I'm telling you right now. And he pointed out how well this thing was done. He also tends to fuck up his figures. He'll do things to customize them, and to me some of them look great and others don't look that good, but he's happy with them, and that's what matters. He's playing with them. He's really fucking playing with them. So yeah, I was like, yo, I'm gonna go the route he did. Now, I have some issues with some of the parts of the figure, like the butterfly joint is backwards. There should be a divot back here so that his arms can go back further. Instead, they made it so that the divot is in the pec so that the arms can go over his chest, which, that's cool because he does have these things, which look awesome. But I love this. I love it. He's huge. It's exactly the Figuarts figure. The paint is on point. I mean, I didn't think that the paint job was going to be that good. Paint is on point. I mean, it's not perfect. There were some issues here, and then you see this double crotch like separation. Like, what the fuck is that about? I don't know what it's about, but it doesn't come apart on mine, so I'm good. I'm like, hey, whatever. I mean, this is a character that I will use a handful of times. He came with the little quantum band thingamabob, or whatever they call these things. It's like multiverse band, or what. I can't remember what they call them for the life of me. I don't even think they name these things in the movie, but it's removable. He does also come with extra heads and hands, and the unmasked head is actually phenomenal. I mean, look at that. It's a standard head. That's pretty damn perfect. You better clear up, motherfucker. Stop playing with me. There you go. Looks great. The paint was kind of annoying though, because as you can see, he's got a little scuff on his nose. That's how he came. I'll eventually match that skin tone, and I've been stocking up on my paints, and I'll be able to do it. But it's got that Into the Spider-Verse look. It's awesome. Hair looks great. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you wouldn't believe I spent $24 on this. And it's literally the same as the figure that people are spending over $100 on. Like, what the fuck, man? You know what I mean? Like, collecting is getting weird because the prices are becoming ridiculous. This is not an independent company that's doing these super limited runs of figures. This is being mass produced by fucking Bandai. Like, come on, what are you doing? SH Figuarts is fucking, like, successful. You know, they've been around for, what, well over, 23 years, going on 24? Like, the brand is successful even when they flop. So, yeah, I think for anyone looking for a version of this figure, look up this guy. They did him, they did Miles. I think they may have done Gwen. I know for sure they did the 3 Spider-Men, with a lot of people picking up the Peter Parker from the Spider-Man from the original series, original Sam Raimi films. But this is worth it. It's well done. It's worth the money. He poses like a champ. I gotta put him. I gotta give you a pose with the claws because those look awesome too. No, I'm not gonna have him compared to Miles, because Miles is across the room with my other Spider-Man figures, and I'm just telling you about this figure. You know, when you get him, you can see he scales. He's the exact same scale as the other Spider-Man figures. Exact same scale. I mean, as the other versions of Miguel O'Hara. So he's huge. He's got the web effects, those crazy techno webs that he has. I like that. They look really good. He's got an extra. He comes with an extra, 2 extra little, you know, multiverse travel bracelet things. So you can put one, I think one on Gwen and one on Miles, if I'm not mistaken, because they both have tiny little wrists. So that's pretty cool. Now, if they do one of Hobie, then we'll be in business, because then I'll get that. Because I do want to have a version of Hobie Brown. But this guy is on point. There's like not a lot that he can't do that he needs to do. And what he can do is pretty dope. You know? He is on point. I mean, look at that. That is a dope-ass figure right there. So yeah, there is Spider-Man 2099, looking all savage and ready to fuck some shit up in the name of saving the multiverse. Yeah, he's a pretty dope figure. I'm kind of amazed that they were able to do this. I mean, I shouldn't be, because I know that it never costs what we're paying for a lot of the figures that we buy on the domestic market. And when it comes to American franchises, we tend to overpay for a lot of stuff, you know? But this is really good. Really fucking good. So anyway, yeah, picked him up, didn't break the bank. I noticed that's a theme this year, is finding cheaper alternatives for a lot of things, because a lot of the prices are getting out of hand. Now, figure arts that I found cheaper, but not as cheap as 2099 Spider-Man. We'll move over here to my ninjas. I started watching the show Hell's Paradise. I dug it, but I don't like it I didn't like it enough to finish the whole show. I felt like it dragged, and there's just some things about it that just didn't work for me. But I like Gabimaru and Yurizuha. I think she's cool, even though she's like a straight up hoe. She will end you. She will fuck up your whole life to get what she wants, which I think is hilarious, but it's very indicative of some of the girls that we see on social media these days. So that kind of cracked me up. But yeah, I picked them up. I enjoy them very much. Gabimaru is a banger of a figure. He's so poseable. He comes with a bunch of different faces, expressions. The different hands he has are pretty good for the different effects. The way that they handled, I'm loving this on a lot of newer figures, is the way that they're handling larger pants. Like when you have big baggy pants, you're starting to get these big baggy knee joints that look good when they're standing up straight, and then they even look good when they're bent. It's not terrible, you know, because they're giving you a huge knee joint that connects in here, and it just looks good. It doesn't look bad. It looks like his knee is bent. So, you know, if you have him in a running pose or something like that, he can actually do it and not look weird, you know, because ninjas tend to run. I'm not going to switch out his hands or anything. I'm not even going to look for those right now, but just so you get the idea, I'm going to give you the pose so you can see him ninja running. So you see. Whip, 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 whip. Let me see if we zoom in just a little. There we go. So you see, it doesn't look bad. Especially if you get him extended a little bit more. I can hold him by here so you guys can see that. Let's get in. There we go. See? Looks great. When he's doing attacks like jump kicks and stuff, like his feet look right. Even the bend of his torso works really well. I know that's kind of generic. Just imagine him doing a 540 for those of you who know your martial arts. Kick with the same foot and land on it. I always like to put them in that pose. And then have him land. Telling you, the figure is dope. So, yeah, Gabimaru's dope. His character is dope. I just wish he was in a different show because I don't like him being utilized in the show that he's in because it just feels very... I'm sick of edgelordy. You know, he just feels so edgelordy and it gets old. You know, I'm like, really? Again? We're doing more of this? And then the fact that she keeps getting shut down cracks me up. She's like Mai Shiranui, but less capable. I'm pretty sure down the line you get to see her do more. I mean, it wouldn't make sense if she's a ninja who's tricky the way she is, if she's not getting to do more. But, you know, gotta have the ninja girl, the sexy ninja chick, straight up hoe, which is hilarious. But she's pretty cool. So I figured, you know, gotta show you guys more ninjas. Ultimately, I want to have like a nice little setup where I have a bunch of ninjas surrounding me, you know, or me getting ready to fight with a bunch of ninjas like behind me or with me. So, you know, all my ninjas, we can literally have that. But you can see like this is a dope figure. Very dope figure. Simple things she does really well. I like her range of motion. It's pretty dope. And have her jump up like, and then and just kick two guys on the sides. And then you have that like delayed reaction when they come back, like. This looks great, man. They did a great job with this. And she also comes with multiple expressions and extra hands and stuff. And yeah, she's cool. And look how happy she is. Being such a wretch and she's so happy. It's a nice change of pace for my collection because I don't typically get into these girls with their boobs hanging out and stuff. But like for this character, it just worked. I'm like, yeah, you get it. She's the Konoichi that will actually try to use her feminine wiles to the umpteenth degree, more so than the chick from Basilisk. That one, holy shit, I would have been dead. I'm not even gonna lie. She would have taken my soul. I'd have been gone. A poison maiden type. But yeah, this is a dope figure, really dope figure. I think they did a great job. Figure arts, man, I'm telling you, when they're on, but when they fuck up, oof, they fuck up and everybody forgets how awesome they are or how awesome they can be. And you kind of have to call it how you see it based on that one interaction. The one thing I will complain about is the peg that's in her waist is really short. So if you try to push to get her to crouch, she just comes off the peg, which is pretty stupid. That should have been longer, and it should have been on an angle to allow for the bend. because there's a joint in her torso. If you look closely, you can see that line right there under her boobs. And you can't really utilize that because the costume is kind of restricting that. So you could get her to bend with some work in the costume, but then the costume kind of will force her to go right back to upright because of how rigid it is. So, there's an area that they could work on doing better, maybe sculpt everything and then give us the cut in there and then give us the joint at the waist. But other than that, man, she's an awesome figure. So yeah, if you see this figure, I had to search for her for a decent price, because when I say decent, I mean under $80, because when I first saw this figure, she was like 40, and I was just like, eh. And I was like, let me watch the anime first before I pick it up, because I don't like getting characters that I don't even have an idea of where they come from. And so then I watched the anime and I was like, oh, I like this. I like seeing her in action. I like her attitude, and I like Gabimaru a lot. So I figured let's have them as a pair. They can hang out with my other two ninjas, me and this white ninja over here. And yeah, we'll go from there. And then when I went back to go look for her, she was like $80, $90 and whatnot. So I ended up finding her on AliExpress. No, I think I saved one on AliExpress, and then that got bought up, and I found her on Amazon. They had a sale on Amazon for her, and then she was about $55. So I was like, okay, I'll pick that up. That's fine. But yeah, that works. She's worth it. Very cool figure. Let's move on. All right, time to get negative. I only have one real, true negative thing to talk about, because like I said, I don't usually buy the stuff that pisses me off anymore. It sounds weird, right? I've found myself enjoying toy lines that everybody else doesn't go ape shit for. I love the Motu Masterverse. I mean, people don't talk about it like they should, but Mattel's doing everything right there. The only thing I will fault them for is there is a character that I got that doesn't have double jointed elbows, and they should. I think they don't even have double jointed knees either, and I think they should. Even though the character doesn't really do crazy poses, I think you should be allowed to go there. But they're very statuesque, so I get why they dialed it back. Also, the price was a little bit less because of the engineering. But it seems like every time I go in this direction and it's not, X-Men or Ghost Rider, I'm usually disappointed. And we're talking about this guy. I got so excited when I was in the store and I saw him, and I was like, damn. And then I was like, as I got home and I'm opening him up, I'm like, there's nothing about him that's different except for the wings and the shield. And it's just a deco on the shield. But this figure, his arms, lower body, boots and everything, those are all, from his bicep down, and then from here down is all Captain America from, God, what was he called? I can't remember what that line was called, but it was one of those early Infinite series waves or something. And it's the Cap. I used to call him Arkham City Cap because he has these Batman gloves, And that Captain America had the chin strap and the kind of ultimate costume, but it wasn't the ultimates. It was the what did they call them? Heroes Return or something like that, or Age of Heroes or something like that. I can't remember. But so the figure was limited. In my review of that figure, I pointed out that he couldn't do a split. And I'm like, what kind of Captain America can't do a split? And I have quite a few now. I think I have 3 that can't do splits. 2 or 3. They fixed that with all the later MCU versions. But this guy's Captain America and he can't do a split. Then there's the clip on his shield. He has this shitty clip that if you use it over time, it's gonna start to you're gonna start to see stress marks on the clip. I'm like, dude, really? You're not gonna do a slightly rubberized or a more ABS style thing? Instead, you use fucking PVC. across the board for everything. Like, come on, even for the little peg. You don't want PVC like this, because then it might, it can break. You know, you drop them the wrong way, this will definitely break. You know, it's brittle plastic, but you know, whatever. For the shield itself, it's perfect. But for this piece here that connects to it, it needed to be some kind of compound, you know? Again, I've been talking about getting more into the material science aspect of creating figures so that I can find ways to strengthen things. I really want to create better material for prototypes, because I'm tired of prototypes being super fragile. That gets on my nerves. I'm frustrated about that. I have some custom pegs coming that are made of a more flexible resin, like a it's hard, but it's heavy duty. And it also has the peg and everything, so it'll work. I'll just replace these on all of the Captain America shields I have that are like this. And I think I have a Taskmaster that's like that too. The star of the show with this guy are these new wings. And these new wings are kind of good. They can go up and down, which, you know, none of the other ones can really go that far up and down. I think it can go even farther than what I have them. Yeah, look, they can go straight up, like so, which is kind of nice. So if he was dropping down from something, you could do that. You know, if you wanted to just, you know, like a cape, you could have him like Marvel vs. Capcom super jump coming down from, you know, because he would super jump using his rocket. So you can have him falling down like, and then have his cape, his wings up. That looks cool. The wings themselves can fold forward on one hinge. That's it. This right here. And that's about it. So the benefit is, if you're playing with him and you want him to fight utilizing his wings, these are the hardest wings that he's had, and they actually are allowed to kind of swing and hit things, and you won't necessarily break them. You know, you can cut stuff and they hold really well. There's a lot of ratchets going on, so I give him props for that. But like, all this for a single release that's 30 something, almost $40. Why? Some people have said that he can't look forward when he flies. Yes, he can. There you go. It's not perfect, but the hinge is there so that you can make him look up. And then, you know, if you use his torso articulation, you know, there's an ab crunch in there, use it, he can actually look forward. It still looks kind of unnatural, but, you know, you can get that off. He does not have a peg in the back for you to put the shield on the backpack, but you can take the backpack off and you can put the shield on his back that way. So, you know, there's that. I wish they had went the route that, yeah, and it doesn't stay in very well, as you just saw. I wish they went the route that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier one went in, where the peg is on the back that you can use for multiple things, including the stand, and then you can plug the shield into the backpack if you want. But the problem is, these wings are way more articulated, but they can't go down the length that these can. So, I mean, there's that. So, on one hand, and this is my gripe with everything I get from Hasbro, except for the classifieds and many of the Black Series figures. With Hasbro, it's always like part of the thing is done well, and then something is done poorly. Like, they always have to fuck it up somewhere. So you could, theoretically, swap out the wings, and then you get this, which is kind of nice. But again, it doesn't stay in very well because the hole is bigger, and it's also a hexagonal hole. Whereas the hole for this guy is a circular hole. Oh no, it's a tight hexagonal one. My bad. Or is it pentagonal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, hexagonal. Okay, I stand corrected. The two peg holes are just slightly different in size. It's just dumb. It's dumb. It's like one size, it would save you a lot of engineering time and cost. You don't have to keep thinking of the measurement. Use like a 9mm hole for all pegs. So anytime you do a Captain America shield, you know that the fucking peg is 9mm, the whole 9mm. It's simple. Instead, they overcomplicate it with this hexagonal shit, as if you're ever gonna twist the wings. The wings need to be stable. The base of the wings need to be stable so that you can move and utilize the articulation. So, you know, I have a lot of issues with this. I was going to give it to Little Strydent, and he didn't even like it. He was playing around with it for a little bit, and he kind of was like, meh. So I was kind of sad about that, because I was like, you should, you know, we should all be really happy about, you know, a new Cap, because it's growth, it's legacy, it's kind of like the thing that I always complain about with modern comics is the lack of legacy. So to see them do it, it's cool, but when the figure gets treated like it's a second thought, that sucks. You know, he deserves a new figure with really good articulation and wings that are well, not just well designed, because the design is amazing. The sculpt, it's really well done. You know, they always seem to get the design. So I love these. I just wish that they had more articulation, as in like more functional articulation. Like, why have hinges for up and down movement if it can only go this much? And then you can't move both at the same time, because if this one is down, then it's butting up against the space where this one would need to go. And then look, when I move this one, it moves the other side out the way. Like, who engineers this shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're small, and we know that, like, things need engineering attention. So we talk amongst ourselves, and we go to our engineer, Marcelo, and we're like, yo, how could we do this? You know, how could we do this better than wherever we are when we started? And he will use that engineering brain of his, and he will give us a whole bunch of directions on ways we could do it better, or he'll do it himself. You know, sometimes we want to do the work, but we need guidance, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand, and there's no excuse, honestly. You guys will come up with excuses for anything, but there's a whole engineering floor at Hasbro. You know, maybe more than one, but from what I remember, it's a whole ginormous floor of inventors, engineers, etc., that figure out how to make things work that the designers come up with. There's no excuse for why something this simple can't be done right. I mean, you could have just cut these a little shorter to make way for the up and down hinge movement so that they don't knock into each other and they utilize the same space. You could have even have offset the peg so one is slightly higher than the other, so that this one goes in front of the other one. You see what I'm saying? So they kind of like scissors. So this would go all the way down, and then this would go all the way down, and then you have what I'm looking for. You know, we could fold these back slightly, and then while they're on Sam, it would look almost like a cape. You know what I'm saying? And put it against him so you can see what I'm talking about. See what I'm saying? It's not impossible to do. It's not rocket science. It just would take a couple seconds of you actually allowing those minds to be put to work, but they don't do it. So, you know, at this point, this is still my favorite Falcon Cap. I know people have all these thoughts and opinions about him. I know the series wasn't perfect and stuff, but in my mind, I have all kinds of cool ways to do this. Alternate universe type takes, future takes, you know, where something happens to Steve. You know, if you go from the way the movies ended, and then, you know, have a good reason for why Cap was necessary. Some of the events play out similar to what we got in the series, but just do it better. You know what I mean? Just more epic craziness. Have more of, what's the guy's name? Walker flying off the handle to the point where he's a threat to national security, and then have him feel like he's disrespecting the Captain America mantle. You could go to Wakanda, you could go to Stark Enterprises, you could go to any number of places to help you get a suit made, and then you steal back Cap's shield or make a new one. It would make more sense for you to steal back Cap's shield from US Agent and then take him down, you know? And it would maybe make the super soldier serum making the agent more erratic and crazy because he's just reacting to it poorly. And then, you know, have Sam on his A game with different gadgets and things, gases that would slow him down and maybe counteract the super soldier serum, so they could have a cool, awesome, high-level martial arts fight, you know, as soldiers with like skills beyond the standard soldier. And it would be fun. But, you know, instead, we got what we got. But that's the point of collecting figures, is we can play out this the way we imagine it, and we could be really content. This figure here, I think you could do some cool stuff with him if you wanted, if you ignore his limitations. But for a figure in 2024, you could have retooled a lot of things and fixed a lot of the issues that this figure has. He's not by any means the worst figure, you know, but he's not the best. And I think Falcon deserved a little bit better than this, especially for a big single carded release. And with all the new bodies that they've done, they should have done a new Falcon figure. He deserved his own body. Maybe Revoltech will do one and it'll be even better than this, because all their figures seem to be, when they do Marvel figures, they make them almost like an event. But yeah, this was not, I'm probably going to take this back because there's nothing about him that screams like he needs a place in my collection. And the fact that he's literally wearing Cap's hand-me-downs with his costume is just kind of like, this is whack. It's like you would design something separate for Falcon, because Falcon is a different guy. He's not even a super soldier, you know? So I wasn't impressed with that. It kind of frustrated me. And it was the first time in a while that I was frustrated with what I bought, because I've had so many like awesome fucking figures that, you know, they do the damn thing, you know, and I don't have to complain. So there's that. Let's move on while we'll talk about Hasbro stuff more. Megatron. I found this is the Bumblebee Studio Series Bumblebee movie Megatron, the concept series Megatron. This thing was hard to find. Everywhere I went, he was sold out. And then one day I saw one. And then I went back. I had to hide him. Then I went back and he was gone. Then I had to wait a while again, and while I was looking for something else, I think someone was catching a cold, I found him, picked him up, and I love him. Megatron has kind of become, like, behind the scenes, my favorite Transformer. I don't even understand what it is that drew me to him as, like, a favorite. I think it's the whole quest for power, and, like, initially he wasn't, like, completely out of his mind, but kind of the pursuit of power drove him mad. That's kind of an interesting through line for the character. But Bumblebee did everything right. That movie showed everyone that what we fans have been asking for, we could get. A movie that takes place on Cybertron with no humans. And I'm not talking about the bullshit Transformers 1. Not talking about that, because I'm not impressed with that. Chris Hemsworth is doing a good job imitating Peter Cullen, but no. You know what I mean? No, that's not what I'm talking about. You got fucking Brian Tyree Henry as a fucking Megatron. Like, since when? The voice is so far away. You didn't even have him do, like, a Shakespearean voice for Megatron, because he does speak in that kind of operatic tone, and they completely missed that. And you got all these fans like, I'm cool with it, it's different. You guys just don't get it, because you've been taught that all the takes are fine. I'm not with that. There is a certain way that these characters were represented, and there is a reason for the representation. Back in the day, they used to go so far as to consult psychiatrists to, you know, kind of make sure that they don't go too far in one direction or too far in the other. And they don't want to give you too much of the psycho and too little of the character, you know? Like a human, I mean, not a human, but like a character that you can understand. And they achieved that only to be replaced with characters that lack all that depth. So, you know, while it sounds progressive and nice to be like, yeah, I'm cool with it because it's new and it might blow your mind. You know, we already know what we're going to get. It's the same committees making 95% of the stuff. But with that aside, this figure is worth the $50. Now, I do think to some degree, he doesn't come with anything except for his fusion cannon. And I do think that maybe he should have been a $40 figure or like a $35 figure. Because when you see the box is kind of big and he doesn't really fill the box. It's literally just this, and then the fusion cannon is beside him. And it's kind of like, yeah, guys, seriously, who are you trying to fool? You know? So you're paying all this money for a small figure. But, I mean, looking at him and looking at all the detail, I mean, this guy is pretty legit. I mean, look at that face. Look at that scary-ass face with those red eyes. Look at that shit, man. Hey, stop that. That is a scary-ass mug. But I love how the shape of the head is very much the Megatron that we all know and love. He looks scary as hell. If you've been reading the Skybound series, I would really love to like make a setup. Maybe one of you guys have already done this. Maybe you'll do it because you're hearing me mention this. Do the scene where Cobra has, because in Skybound series, Cobra's tech is based off of Megatron. So it's Cobra Law stuff, and then it's Megatron's, Cybertronian tech, biosynthetic tech that they based all of Cobra's high-tech weaponry on. So this is what makes Cobra such a threat, and they're making it they're making them connected. The Transformers and the Joes, they're connected so that when we get to the finale of all this shit, there will be a reason for G.I. Joe and Transformers to cross over, other than Hasbro making both. You know what I'm saying? But I would love to see someone do a setup of Cobra, having Cobra Commander having that special base, secret base, and then having Megatron strung up in the base and have Cobra Commander talking shit or whatever, pose him in some maniacal pose like he's, harvesting shit from this Megatron, use maybe Rise of Cobra or Pursuit of Cobra, Cobra Commander. I think that would be dope. I might do it, honestly. I have a challenge going on at my Discord where we're going to do more figures in action. It's one of those things that I've been asking for eons, and every time I bring it up, my watchers, members just ignore it, and they don't do it. So they don't even try it. So we're going to try it this time. And since I have less there, I think more people will get involved. I'm hoping, because the idea is just to showcase the minds of the people who we're constantly geeking out with. But this figure is legit. I love it. The fusion cannon is beautiful. I love the range of motion on this figure. He has some crazy range of motion. I love the fact that, look at that. Such heroic nonsense. Boom! Bloosh! Like, look at that. That shit looks legit. Legit. Yeah. I'm not going to do the transformation. Go to MGO or Prime versus Prime for that shit. I'm not one of those guys. It's a puzzle. I want you guys to get to partake in the puzzle, but I wanted to show you just how cool this figure is and how well done he is. Yes, I know some of the coolness is the transformation, but, I'm not that guy. I'm a Transformers fan. I enjoy those things, but when you come to me, I'm directing you to the cool figure. I'll just let you know that a lot of people have issues with the transformations of these particular figures because they say that they don't turn into anything, which I don't agree with, because they're alien, so they shouldn't necessarily reflect shit you're familiar with. They should be weird versions of things, like he turns into a weird tank. That's fine. He also turns into a weird ship, and there's a billion other things that people have figured out ways to kind of, approximate with his transformations that you could potentially do yourself too. So if you want to, look around, find those guys, and try to do what they're talking about. But I think as is, he's alien enough. This look is alien enough. I think the transformation is alien enough. And he just looks mean as fuck. So, yeah, if you see him for the $50, don't pay more than $50 for this figure. More than $50 is robbery. It's already robbery considering the box. It's like a bag of chips where it's like 75 or 50%, less than 50% full. And then you're charging full price for a half full bag of chips. It's kind of what you're getting here. You get a smaller Transformer in like a, I don't know, leader or almost commander class box. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. It's like in between your leader or your Voyager and your commander. It's like a pretty decent sized box, and that's what you're getting. He's just a little bit taller than like a standard 6-inch figure. I mean, here he is next to my me as a ninja Strydent. He's not that tall. You know what I mean? He's tall, don't get me wrong. What is that? 7, maybe 8 inches tall? Meanwhile, you've got other figures like, who did I get that was huge? Oh, shit, like, actually McFarlane figures. They usually tower over most figures, Like this Brainiac is huge. And I don't even have him standing up perfectly straight, and yet, they're pretty close in height. I think Val-Zod might even be taller than that Megatron, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Val-Zod is taller than him. See him in the corner? Head and shoulders taller. So yeah, for $50, you're getting robbed. So, that's bad enough. And Hasbro is good at that. They do that a lot these days. It's not even heavy. There is some die cast on that figure, but it's not very much. I think there was a piece that I felt somewhere in here that's die cast, and I could be wrong, but I think there are some. Yeah, maybe. No, that feels like die cast in there. Yeah, there's some. You'll have to figure it out for yourself with magnets and the cold touch method. But yeah, he's a pretty well done figure though, all things considered. And considering he was cut from the movie and this is the design, it's a little piece of history because Travis Knight is not working on any of the next Transformers movies. He's actually, his team and him are working on Masters of the Universe, which is going to be pretty awesome. I wish that was the segue into my Motu Masterverse stuff, but it's not. We're going to talk about more Hasbro shit. So let's move on. All right, classifieds. While I was at JoeFest, I managed to get a hold of a bunch of the classifieds that I was looking for. Grunt was kind of a must, and I had been looking for him for a while. I couldn't find him for the price that he should be. He should be $24.99. He's literally called Grunt. There's no fucking reason why people are paying $60 for this figure. None whatsoever. Yet everywhere I looked, he was $60. This guy, there's no reason why he's $40. So at JoeFest, I found him and Mole. Actually, I found all of these guys for $20. I think he might have been $30 or $25, but the rest of them were $20. And I had pre-ordered him a while back, and I just never got to mention him. Ninja theme. I also got a red ninja from back in the day. I found him below cost, so I was like, yo, yoink, I'm getting him. Because for some reason, you guys selling these figures on the secondary have set the precedent that all of them need to be going for fucking import figure prices, and they're not import figures. Like Snow Job, I missed him when he came out. He's still around, yet he goes for like $60. It's a $40 figure. Why can't I just pay $40 for him? Like, there's a lot of habits that are making collecting less fun, and I get it. I've seen it with Fist. Our own figures are showing up on the secondary for ridiculous prices, and it's like, yo, they're $30 figures. Like, come on, you don't have to go that hard with the price. We're making them, and we're an independent company. We need the money, and we're not charging you $50 a pop for this particular type of figure. When we charge you $50, you will get $50 worth of a figure. You know what I'm saying? But all that being said, I like these guys. Finally got young Sarge in his prime. He's a dope figure, very dope figure. I love how slightly bigger than everyone else he is. I wish they went a little further because the Mattel version is a lot bigger than that. But this looks good. It looks right. But this is like, I guess, to appease the Marvel Legends crowd because they're weird with scale. I think he should be like a McFarlane figure because that's how he was shown in the TV show. He was like head and shoulders over everybody else. He was literally looking down at other Joes when they're in their lineup in the movie. And then also he went toe-to-toe with Nemesis Enforcer, who's ginormous. I mean, you want to believe that Nemesis Enforcer is at least 8 feet tall. You know what I mean? At least. So if he's like 6'9" or something, or 6'5", that would be cool. So make him a lot bigger. But, I'm nitpicking. I just imagine Sarge as the big dude in the lineup when, standing up with Roadblock and them. He's one of the big-ass dudes. It's super strong. Be careful, everybody who looks at getting Grunt. I have him with his Steel Brigade helmet on. I love that. You know me, I'm a fan of the Steel Brigade. I love their look. I love the fact that let's zoom in on this guy. I love the fact that they're having that continuity with these characters where some of them have gear from other factions, but I had to buy a whole nother vest because at some point in opening this, I lost it. It just disappeared. Instead of making this a pin and a joint, it's just a clip-in area. So something could knock this out and you're screwed. You will lose this little computer thing, which sucks, because it's a really cool detail, and I wish they had done it differently. But I got a new one, so I got him complete. I have an extra vest now that doesn't have this piece. You can pull this out too. It's just plugged in, the hinge, the back piece, and the computer piece. So yeah, be mindful of that. It's kind of cheaply made. Again, Hasbro doing all of this right and then fucking up with something that simple. His gun is weird, like the gun placement. At first I thought my figure was on backwards. Then I tried to put this on the side because it looked like it was supposed to go there. Because like this would probably be the front. That's the clip right there because you have two pieces. It's like what we used to call this, an H clip. You got like a piece here and it clips into that. So, his gun being like this is kind of weird. I put it in the front just because it would make a little more sense to me. Like, what was the guy's name in Rampage? You know what I'm talking about? Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character. He had the gun belt just like Ness, where the gun was kind of across his crotch, like an old gunslinger. And, I figure, yeah, this would be cool to give him some character. If I get any others, I'll put the guns... I might change the belt, number one, or I'll keep it in the back, But he's really dope. He's one of my favorites. He's just so simple, I love it. I love it. The boots look really good. Everything looks good on this guy. I love it. And I gave him an M4 from... This is a True Heroes M4. I noticed a long time ago that a lot of the True Heroes sets, they always came with oversized weapons. And for a long time, people would be like, what do we do with these weapons? They don't work. And I noticed I used to use them for the Punisher so that I could have an arsenal for the Punisher. And then when I started getting more soldier types, starting with those create a character from WWE, I was like, hey, you guys can use all these things. And then we would use them with thugs for Batman villains and whatnot, and it worked. So yeah, that's something you could do. If you're looking for weapons and you don't want to break the bank, buying Valaverse weapons or Gridiron Studios weapons or something like that, because a lot of that shit's really expensive, and that's because they're 3D printed in smaller quantities. They're not printed in high quantities the way that the big companies do. Mole Rat. Now, currently I have him with the gas mask on, looking like one of the Combine or something from Half-Life. But I like this guy. He has the other head that's like a Last of Us zombie head. This drill is fucking crazy, and you can combine this gun with this one, which is pretty cool. But he's pretty cool. I imagine that we're gonna get not airborne, airtight very soon. If this is what we're getting with the NBC suit and all that, if we have this already, they're gonna do one with airtight. It only makes sense. He's pretty cool. I love the futuristic, like, this is what I wanted when I said continue Pursuit of Cobra. Just redesign things, make it more towards the future and less retro, because we constantly are obsessed with retro, and it's like that time has passed. The war is changing. This guy, I want 4 of these guys. So if anyone can hook me up, please. I want 4 of them. I'm gonna kit them out slightly differently so I can make a fire team like Rainbow Six. But I like him. I might even get Shockwave so that I can have a whole squad. But I like him. He's cool. I don't like a lot of his gear. That's why I gave him... Believe it or not, this is a Fortnite backpack. This came with Metal Mouth. And it's perfect because it's the same kind of setup as his with the comm on the side. It just doesn't have the area for the knife or sword or machete. It's just clips all over. Bombs and shit. But yeah, he's good. He's a really good figure, you know? I think this is more along... This Vector is more along the lines of what someone like him should be using. These are the things that when I'm talking about G.I. Joe moving into the future, this is what I mean. I mean, he came with some futuristic looking stuff, and this pistol slightly more futuristic, but you know, it's not as cool as the Valiverse Maxim 9. But I like it. He feels more real world, so if you wanted to make a real world SWAT team, there you go. But he's pretty much just Beachhead, you know, with some slightly less armored up gear. But I like him. I like him a lot. From India, Parth Varma. He reminds me so much of someone straight out of Rainbow Six. But yeah, Hasbro, man. This guy, Nunchuck, is really cool too. I always thought his... this is the version from the Valor versus Venom days. At least I remember him looking like this. I remember we had a 12-inch version of him. It was red. He didn't have a shirt on, but he had the camo, red and black camo pants. And I just thought he was so... We used to call him Jet Lur. Jet Lur instead of Jet Li. But this is dope. The nunchucks back there. I kind of would have preferred a chain or a rope so you can swing them around, but him and what's the guy's name? Quick Kick have the same kind of deal with their nunchucks. Sorry, got some dust near my phone. But yeah, he's pretty cool. Same posability all across the board. I like these swords. Very nice. And I like his design in general. He also came with bear claws. Kind of like Vega. And yeah. That is Nunchuck. These boots are really nice. The Tabis. I like how they've upgraded them with the more of a soul and stuff, you know? It's like they're actually trying, and I dig that. This is why I keep on finding myself collecting these figures, even though I said I wasn't going to go down the fucking rabbit hole. Here I am, climbing my way out of the goddamn rabbit hole because they're interesting figures, you know? Like, there's things that I wanted to see that I'm finally getting to see coming from, you know, the Joes. So, I don't know. I'm not complaining, you know? I'm not complaining. But yeah, these guys are pretty dope. Like I've told you before, I have so many more fucking classified figures. I've got a bunch of Vipers, bunch of officers and troopers. You know, the blue shirts, the twins. Thanks to ODCdatsme, he helped me out with them. because my ollies didn't have shit. So I think his ollies did. So he doubled up on some stuff and got stuff for me too. Thank you, bud, man. I always appreciate you. We got to do a video together soon. It's been a while, and life has been, frustrating. So it's going to be nice to geek out together like the old days. So, yeah, classifieds, they're doing some good shit. If you can find them for a good price, they're always worth it. It's when they start getting up into the ridiculous $50 and $60 prices for these characters, it gets stupid. And it doesn't even matter if you make enough where it's not even a thing to spend that on some toys, but you have to think they're ornaments for many people. And they're made with the intent for you to use them, play with them and stuff. You shouldn't be paying $60 for standard figures, Pay $60 for like, Serpentor or fucking Nemesis Enforcer. Like the big, special box sets, $60 to $100. But like just standard figures, you should never be paying in that range. So if you can find them for a good price, do it. You'll be happy. Now, before we move on, I wanted to do this comparison because it's something I was looking forward to. And also, it's something we all noticed right away. Though Valiverse Sarge is old, this is after his days of G.I. Joe. You can kind of tell from his chin and his mouth and everything, it's all sunken in more. Whereas this is Sarge in his prime. No weapons, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just kind of the guy, And I love how there's a difference. Hasbro does it the old-fashioned way. Valiverse does it the more modern way. So, you can see the size of his guns. They've shrunken in his old age because that's what happens when you get older. Muscle mass, it decreases unless you're taking something, So I like this. I like the idea of I can flash back to when Sarge was young, and then also I can flash forward to modern Sarge. He was also at JoeFest this year, so we got to see him. I did not get to get anything signed because I didn't have the time and I didn't have the money. And I hope that at the next con that he's at, I get to be there too, so that I perhaps could get a signature on either this stand for his figure, so I can have him posed, or I can get something like a smaller, 4-inch figure or poster and have him sign it. But yeah, just a little bit of small detail so you guys could see how they handled that. All right, next up we have Ninja Turtle stuff. I got a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff, but the main things I want to show you are these guys. And I have one other thing I'll show you when I'm finished showing you these guys. So up front is from Rage Toys. This is Autumn. This is Donatello, or not Donatello. I love this look for the character. Love the detail on this guy. But the idea behind this is it's kind of like all their figures are dual designs. So they're like Sengoku period, Ninja Turtles and stuff. So you can set him up to look like that with the knife on his stick and everything. And he's got a rifle, but he's got some tech on his shell to kind of add to the fact that this is Donatello. And there's other things. There's like a robotic arm you can attach to him. But I got him for all the other stuff. I love the cloth tie in the back of his head on his mask. I did the same thing to my Santaluco TMNT figures from the Loyal Subjects. I love this metal staff. It's so cool. I love the fact that there's so many little details kind of added on to the figure. Like, look at the little watch detail on his arm. To control all kinds of stuff. That could control the turtle van or something. And they didn't go nuts with it. The rest of him is very much a ninja, which is the way it should be. Cloth, though, on these parts is genius, because that way, when they sit down, or when you put them on a skateboard or something, that doesn't get in the way. It's cloth. Now, issues I have, no thigh swivel. It's not even an anatomically correct thigh swivel up in here like Figuarts does. Just none whatsoever. Double jointed knees, cool rocker ankles and stuff that point, and do all the stuff that they're supposed to do. And then same up here, except he does have a swivel at the elbow, but he doesn't have double jointed elbows. It doesn't really stop him from holding his weapon correctly. I mean, he's holding his weapon just fine. You know, it's Donatello after all. But one thing you'll see if you start playing with him is after you make him move a couple ways, you know, doing stuff with poses, his hands tend to pop out easily of the sockets. So I don't like that. And it's the socket that where the ball joint is here and then the socket is in the hand. So I prefer when it's an actual peg, you know. I don't think, see, easily came off. I don't like that because it comes off way too easily. But that's my only gripe. I hope that down the road they release extra hands. And I did get like, there was like an extra, like a bonus pack that they did where you have a samurai head for him. And you have like an expressive head where he's sticking his tongue out or he's like laughing or something with his mouth wide open. And then there were baby turtles with personality to them, like the way they were posed and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And it also had Leonardo's standard head, I want to say. I could be wrong. It had a Leo head. But there's a lot of cool things going on here. And I like these just as much as the Santoluco guys because all it is slightly more realistic versions of the turtles. Now, Rage Toys has shown several more figures. They've done everybody except Raphael so far. I bought Leo. He doesn't ship until November from it's a reissue on Gundamit.com. Thank you, Agent O. He's the one that hit me to that because I missed out on him the first time and I was sad because you know Leo is my favorite. Mikey just popped up everywhere, so you can pre-order him now. For some reason, a lot of people don't realize that you can kind of tweak his design because his Sengoku period design doesn't look that great. It's kind of weird, but the Michelangelo design, the modern Michelangelo design, when you move all the other stuff and put this gear on him, he looks so cool. Like, instead of having a strap like a lot of companies like Joy Toy is doing, he's got double straps with spray paint canisters in them. It looks almost like suspenders. And then a backpack on the back where all the other gear is and stuff. And I think you can put his skateboard in there. The nunchucks plug in over there. Like, he looks legit. So, yeah, this line, at some point, probably by next year, I'll have all of them. And I think it's well worth the time. So, yeah. And it's worth the money. I think I paid 40 something for him, which is amazing considering all this. He came with a bunch of shurikens, extra hands, the robot arm that plugs into the back, a knife end that goes on this. Yeah, it's another head, and yeah, it's dope. He's got a scarf that goes around his neck. He's got a masked face. Like, this is well worth it, you know. And I remember when these guys were just a custom that a guy was showing off online. So, you know, props to Rage Toys or Rage Studios, I'm sorry, for finally getting to make this and doing such a good job, you know. Like, make a movie with them looking like this. The integrity of the design is here. You know what I'm saying? Like, they still got all the craziness on them, goggles and all that, but they look legit. You know, there's no mistaking what this is. And they're still small guys, which I love. I think one of the things that they actually nailed better than some of the other toy lines, definitely better than NECA. NECA refuses to do it right, is the scale or height. They're supposed to be 4 feet tall, you know? I never understood why that seems to be something difficult for them to do. He's 4 feet tall. He shouldn't be towering over anybody. He should be looking up at everyone. You know? That's perfect. Any way you slice it, even when I try to fudge it, you can still tell he comes up to freaking Brainiac's crotch. Same deal with Valzad. You know? Same deal with Triclops. They're short, and that's the way it should be. I don't know why that leaned over like that, but whatever. But you can see they're short, 4 inches tall, maybe 5 slightly. Let me see, are they the same height as Axel? Thankfully, I have Axel right here. Let me back this up a little bit so you can see. And let's put him back in front of the camera. And then let's bring out Axel. See, these are the things that when I hear people talking about scale and size and stuff, and then you hear them be like, I'm fine with the turtles being 7 inches tall. I'm like, okay, can we please just stop talking about it? You know what I mean? Let's stop talking about it. You can't be consistent. Let's not even have this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, stop bringing it up. The turtles, there's one iteration, maybe two, where, yeah, he's 4 inches. He's just about like a head and shoulders shorter, or no, about a head shorter than Axel. I like that. So that works. That works. That works well. See, when you have them side by side, you can see the difference right there. They're short, and that's the way they should be. So yeah, if you see these guys, I think they're worth picking up if you're interested in that kind of thing. I know this won't be for everybody because they kind of deviate from what everyone knows, with the ninja boots and stuff, and like, I get it. It's not exactly the standard, but they're pretty dope. I think people should pay attention. Santolouco style turtles from Loyal Subjects. This is Alopex. She is pretty damn dope. I knew this was coming, and I was very geeked about her. She looks really good. Comes with commas. A weapon that we've actually seen a little bit from this company already, because one of the turtles, I think it's Michelangelo, comes with them, and then Shredder does too. But her sculpting is legit. Her articulation is really good too. There's little things I wish they'd stop doing, like this generic ass cut for the waist. Curve it in, make it a ball joint so that we can get some extra side to side, all directional movement, Same thing up here. I think this is a ball joint though, but we just don't really, it's not very much range. You would need to pop it off and then cut in either direction to get more. But, what we have is good. She still can pose really well. Those cool backwards dog leg type deals work really well. She looks very cool. The tail is one piece. It's kind of heavy, but what's cool about it is it allows for, number one, it balances her. Number two, it allows you to stand her up in a kind of a squatting type pose and have that act as a third leg to help her stand up with no problem. So she's not going to be falling off your shelf anytime soon. So props to them for that. And then we have the Rat King, looking like the Pied Piper. And I love this figure. Look at him. He just looks so cool. Comes with the freaking pipe. He looks so cool. And then there's a detail that I might be able to show you on camera if it allows me to. Let's see if it allows me to. There will be light in here, just not a whole lot. Can you see that? Put him in the shadow. You see him glowing? That green hue. He's made of glow-in-the-dark plastic, which is pretty cool because if you put him in the dark, there we go. I think that's great. It's a cool little detail that we don't see that often anymore. You see it on figures like the Spectre. Sometimes you see it on Skeletor figures, but you don't see it often. Well, He-Man figures, I should say, like old school Motu figures. But this is the IDW version of the Rat King, where he's more than just an old disgraced ninja. He's kind of like a trickster god almost, and or trickster spirit or trickster demon of some sort. He's like in that realm. But I love it. Look at that ugly ass face. And I love how soft the sculpt is because of the material. it gives him kind of an ethereal, kind of like subhuman feel. He kind of feels like the nocturnal, what do they call them? The subterranean people in The Descent. That's what he reminds me of. And I love that. This is the Rat King. Like, I've only ever had the OG Rat King from that's not true. I had the OG Rat King from Playmates, and then I had the one from the 2010 series with the hat and the wraps all over him. And I like this as like the next evolution, where he was always wrapped up because he was hiding his true nature, and this is who he truly is, you know? So like in my universe, that's kind of what's happened. He's been subtly affecting the outcomes of things, and you know, finally he revealed himself, and here you go. Such an awesome figure. So yeah, TMNT stuff. I got one more thing. It's kind of big, so let's see if I can actually get the whole frame of reference in the image. I am working on a custom that's pretty damn big. Ugh. So, Mutant Mayhem happened. I hated it. But I love the turtle van. And then I saw a guy named Duarte Customs show his custom that he was selling of the turtle van. And I'm like, yo, I can do that. I can make one of those. And he was just dirtying up the turtle van and just like putting rust and stuff. I'm almost done. I've got to do the rust. And kind of, you can see some of it on the sides. I got to put more dirt near the wheels, like over here. Like mud flew up, you know. There's a little bit of it. You can kind of see it, but I had to do more. But I love this turtle van because it can fit all the turtles. Those are the Santaluco guys in there. And they're all in here. See Leo hanging out the back. I love it. And when you open the back, you can see Raphael. Oh, I've got a rubber band on there. Actually, let's do it this way. I'll flip it around so you can see Raph. Raph is in the van holding on. What I don't like is there's an action, and you know me and weird actions. They get on my nerves because sometimes they take away from your ability to manipulate the vehicle or the figure itself, you know, as it is. So I always find a way to kind of counteract whatever that is. So I put a rubber band here so that it doesn't happen. But if you hit down the top, oh, maybe it's not gonna work today. Is Raph in the way? There you go. You can see Raph is inside, holding on. And it's pretty spacious in there. I'll open up the back so you can see. I'm very happy with how the paint came out. I used mostly acrylic paints because, you know, they dry very plasticky. But you can see inside. It's very good, you know. I know Duarte made a floor and he redid the chairs and stuff. Now, I redid the chairs as in positioning them farther back so that the turtles actually had leg room, because that's one of the issues I had with this van is the number one, I don't like the fact that the dashboard is connected to the front and then you drop down the whole front like this. But there wasn't a lot of space for their legs before, so I moved the chairs back. See that big wooden piece that I put them on to get them up the right height. Also, look at the bands. I changed those. It's actually sitting up too high right now, but it normally doesn't. But you see what I'm talking about. It makes it easier to play with them and not worry about plastic stabbing you or getting bent or whatever. And thankfully I had material of all the colors, so I was able to customize them enough that I can play with them a lot easier. My sons can play, well, my younger son can play with me and not worry about getting stabbed or hurt because the plastic is so hard. And not easy to manipulate. But yeah, they did a pretty good job with this. I'm pretty happy with everything on it. Like I said, I just got a couple things I got to do to make it, 100% more, legit. I don't know what am I missing right now? Oh, I see. There's a clip right there in the center of the top that you got to get everything on, and then the sides will follow. I think I got it. Yep. Okay, there we go. So it's all lined up. Everything's closed. You can see the lines. But yeah, looks good. I even got like dirt on the tires, dirt and rust on the front. So yeah, it's looking like a piece of shit that they put together that we don't know what's under the hood, but we do know that from the outside it doesn't look that great. And I'm proud of that because that's the goal. All my other Turtle vans look real good, especially the one from Out of the Shadows. That's my favorite, the freaking Turtle Assault Wagon. But this is coming along and it's turning into one of my favorites now because it can fit every version of the Turtles that I have except for... Actually, it can fit every version. Except for even the Super 7 ones. They all fit in there, which I like. I like that a lot. So yeah, it's quality. I'm happy. I'm glad that it worked. Yeah, and I'm not doing this for the Out of the Shadows Turtles. I hate that fucking movie. Hated the designs. Just hated so much about it. I was like, you guys failed with this, but I love this van. It's so simple and straightforward, and it works. So, yeah, that is what we got. Jada Toys. So I've been on the hunt for Dalsim and Bison. I do have a couple Bison figures already, but it was Dalsim, Bison, and Ken that I was looking for. I found Ken, found him a while ago. He might have even been in the background of one of my last videos, but figure's really good. You already know what to expect because you've already seen Ryu. They did the damn thing. I mean, this guy is legit. He can do all the kicks the right way. He pretty much articulates just like you would expect. I don't have any issues to report. Nothing is missing. Nothing is lacking. He's pretty dope, So yeah, if you see him, get him. I think you'll enjoy him. I mean, you see how fast I was able to manipulate him to get him into that kick pose. So I think you guys should look into that. And then, you won't be sorry because he's a dope-ass figure. Joints are nice and stiff, and, like, he can hold the poses. Like, look at the crunch. Even with that coat, with the jacket on, or the shirt, the top of his gi. You can still crunch down enough to make him look like he's legit about to, throw a kick or a punch. It looks right. So, yeah, guys, if you get a chance, pick this guy up. Can't have it without the good old Shoryuken. So let's give him an opportunity to hit with the Shoryuken. It looks really good. It's a really good looking figure. Shoryuken. He looks great. Great. Can do all the things. So yeah, if you see him, pick him up. Jada Toys, I think, is going to change the game for domestic figures because they're giving you articulation that we're used to getting from the in the import companies. I know Jada is, I want to say, a Chinese-based company, but they're giving you what you used to get from the Chinese companies and bringing it over here. And they're selling it to you for a fraction of the cost. So that right there is a huge win. And I love the fact that they're doing that because, we need more of that. One thing I will say that I don't like about the figure is the paint on the hair. It's like they didn't seal it right. So his hair tends to flake. So be careful with the hair. And yeah, other than that, everything else is great. He's like nearly perfect. And then when you have him side by side with Ryu and they're both charging up a fireball. Oh, good. Looks great. Yeah, you guys need to pick up on these guys. If you haven't already gotten in on them, you need to, because essentially everything you missed about Soda and everything that you might have missed with the price of the extremely limited but very well sculpted Storm collectibles, you're getting it here, and you're not paying out the wazoo to get, you know, a very kind of basic, you know, a basic action figure essentially. Now we'll finish off with the last two bits of this video, which are McFarlane, and then we'll do, last but not least, we will do our Masterverse. So for Father's Day, my son and wife, he just couldn't wait to get me Midnighter. He kept talking about it last year. I guess they found it a while back, and then my wife always hides things when we find stuff on sale and then forgets where she had it, where she got it from. So they found it and they, you know, snatched it up and gave it to me for Father's Day. So that was a nice surprise. And he's essentially just that dark detective, you know, future state Batman without the horns. But this works because it's pretty much Midnighter's look. It's just there's more gray on here than black, you know, than we're used to having. I mean, there's more parts that are gray on this figure that are usually black in the comics. He's usually all black. Only gray is usually somewhere up in his chest, or white for the moon. But I like this. I don't mind it. I would like to have the rest of the team, but I like this. I think McFarlane knocked this one out of the park, you know? It looks the part. Then we have, I found Affleck in the wild, and I was able to change the neck peg. So you see his neck is sitting lower, and he looks more like Affleck already. I did the whole custom cape thing on him, so he's got the long cape that drapes but doesn't do the... Actually, mine isn't frayed. I gave him the bat scallops. I was going to burn the edges, though, to make it look the part, and then I was like, I won't do that. So, he looks the part. I know a lot of people have repainted him. I don't really feel the need. He looks the part. He looks cool. He can sit with the rest of my McFarlane Justice League, because I think I have everybody except for the Flash in McFarlane style. So, yeah, there's that. And we move on to Cassandra Cain. This Batgirl is pretty cool. She was my favorite Batgirl for a long time. I used to read her books while Damian Scott was doing the art. I have the first appearance one by DC Direct. I also have the Ed McGuinness style one from DC Direct. And then I think I may have the DC UC one somewhere. I may have even traded that. Now, I put tape on the end because there was I was gluing it and I needed to cover it. The wire tends to slide right out at the tip of the scallop. So if you're posing her, beware of that. You know, I put these tips on because I was gluing it, and then I was like, you know what, while it dries, I'll put this on top of it so that nothing happens to it, you know, and or down the road, even if someone pushes, it won't slide through. But there is a wire in this cape, which is weird because, you know, this is McFarlane. It's a cheapo cape. You can see from the material is so thin. You can practically see right through it. You can see Val-Zod right there. But, you know, it kind of does what it's supposed to do to give the cape some extra, you know, life. You have her standing up and the cape is flying around. It doesn't look too bad, you know. Have her looking up and have the cape doing its thing. Like, it doesn't look bad, you know. A lot of her is just a reuse of the previous Batgirl we've gotten 3 times. Just different chest, slightly different chest and different head. And that's really it. Everything else, I mean, and it should be, because that's what Cassandra Cain's costume always was. Until she became Orphan, her costume was always one of Babs's costumes, just, you know, with the mouth sewn shut, you know, because she can't speak, or at least not clearly, so she doesn't bother to have her mouth showing. But yeah, I think it looks good. I'm probably gonna get these off because they're so shiny. I might get gaffer's tape and do that instead, but for now it's serving the purpose I wanted it to serve. I could even go further and make it silver, and they could be tassels that she attacks with. That might be cool. Oh, and slightly different feet. I forgot about those. But yeah, she's pretty dope. Pretty dope. They did her justice. I couldn't believe it because I've never seen... I saw a reveal or something on Instagram, but usually when those reveals happen, I don't see the figures in the wild right after the reveal. This time I saw the figure in the wild literally a day or two after I saw the reveal, which never happened, so I ganked that up as quick as possible. Even the dude at the register was like, what? Where'd you find that? And I had to tell him there's like 2 more left. You better go pick one up before your shift ends, because she's a character that a lot of people his age and a lot of people, you know, people reading right before the New 52 were big fans of Cassandra Cain. She had a nice little fan base. We were all pissed at how they handled her, because they just ended her fucking story and then changed a lot of things, and it was just like, you didn't need to do that. She was already like well done. She needed resolution with the ideas and stories that we had already on the way, you know what I mean, already underway. So yeah, that pissed me off. But you know, again, we get to do what we want to do with all that stuff because now we have her figure. So yeah, it'll be interesting to somehow redo some of that stuff and you know, just play with Batgirl. I kind of want a David Cain figure so that we can, you know, kind of really do that. But then again, he's just an assassin. You can kind of make that up with a Valaverse figure, or use a G.I. Joe Classifieds figure or something. Like, there's so many ways you could do it. But anyway, Cassandra Cain, dope, well done, very simplistic figure. These two that you're looking at now are from the latest wave. This is the Krypton or Kryptonian wave, a Brainiac wave, I guess. There's a cool zombie Zod, and then there's the weird costume that Soups, you know, Kal-El is in, and also Val Zod. This is the first Val Zod action figure, but I'm going to talk about him last. Brainiac. This is Brainiac reminiscent of how he appeared back in the day in Superpowers. It was the robot with the, you know, gangly parts. They just added all these limbs and shit, you know, and I like it. It feels like what I've come to expect from McFarlane. I mean, look at that little gangly ass hand. It's my strong hand. Grab my hand, child. Grab my hand. It's just, it's funny, but like oof, yeah. That's my gripe. The lip on these is not very pronounced, so I may have to just glue them in there or put some gaffer's tape or some painter's tape on it to kind of thicken up the thing. I don't like using super glue as much because sometimes it'll just freeze. Although it wouldn't be bad if it froze if I just put it in a pose like this and just leave it there like that. That might not be too bad because, I mean, he's not going to hold anything with that hand. I just kind of wish that they put a ball joint there like they did with these. Is it these or is it this one? One of these has a ball joint. Is it this? Yeah, it's this one. This arm has a ball joint. And I'm like, why didn't you just make all of them have a ball joint? You know? But it's a dope figure. I mean, look at that face. Very alien. Very cool. Let's move this way so we have more light. Move back here so you can see, and then we'll zoom in. Very alien. All the Brainiac staples are there. He's weird though, like he's knock-kneed. You gotta probably put his feet like that so he can kind of stand in that weird stance. You know, he doesn't have a thigh swivel, so you know you're gonna struggle a little bit with getting him to stand in these cool poses. But I mean, it's not impossible. I was able to do it fairly quickly. I might be able to do it fairly quickly on this video, so let's see if I can do it. Yep, I can do it. It's me we're talking about. Of course I can do it. Let's back up so you can see it. He's standing without the stand. He looks like a little savage. I like it. And he's not leaning against Val-Zod, just so you know. So yeah, it's possible he's not as articulated freely as the other figures are, but you can get him to pose very similarly to how those guys do. But yeah, he looks pretty cool. That looks pretty damn cool. Trying to give you these nice artistic shots so you can get a feel for what they do, you know what I mean? Nobody seems to do that with these figures. Like even on McFarlane's channel, the figures are just there, and sometimes they're leaning and they're in weird poses. It's like, look at all this sculpt work that somebody did that you're just not really showcasing. I'm telling you, when you love it, we treat this shit a little differently from everybody else, and I love it. So, you know, I'm gonna let the art speak for itself. But I think it's a very well done figure. And it's cool because for a long time, my Brainiac, I used to use the manga spawn, the black version with the cool tail from back in the day. He's like, he's got huge legs and a pointy head and stuff. I'll find a picture and try to put it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. I've mentioned it before. So yeah, to have that is cool. And then I have the Injustice one, which is my favorite so far. Val-Zod. Now, I have mixed feelings about this figure. I had to switch out his hands so he has gloved hands so that he can hold things. Close to fists. So, he can't really, you know, I want him to be able to punch a little, you know, and look more dynamic. From certain angles, you can't tell that those are trigger hands for guns. But I don't like this suit that much, but it does kind of fit and it feels alien. And something about like the way that these caps for his faux butterfly joint work, they tend to like move too far and you get this gap, and I don't understand what that's about. But it's not terrible, it's just not the greatest. It's a little too much. I don't get the spikes, and I don't think Kryptonians dress like this, not from what we know from all the Kryptonians that we've seen in the past, you know, not the good guys at least. Spikes is always kind of reserved for the villains, but he's got a decent face sculpt. He looks very determined. I like that. I like the blue eyes because he's not human. They did a good job. Paint needs a little work. But, yeah, he's not a bad figure. And for a Page Punchers figure, it's kind of strange. I think this is, like, probably the most meh Page Punchers wave, because he's lacking in a lot of things. But some of it is cool. I mean, if you missed out on Injustice Brainiac, then you got a Brainiac. You know what I mean? If you missed out on Zod, you can get a zombie Zod if you wanted, you know. And then here's the cheapo, practically see-through cape again. But this, because it's white, it's a little bit better. Soft and clean, and it drapes really well. So I'm not complaining about that. He looks decent. I just wish it was the traditional Earth 2 costume. So now I'm going to have to get the Earth 2 Batman, even though I was done with Batman figures. I may just substitute some other Batman figure for Earth 2. I don't know. But he's not bad. Not bad at all. They did a good job with this figure as far as the posability goes. He hardly has any paint. I wish he came with multiple hands. I don't know why they don't do the flight hands, fists, and then the posed hands. You know what I mean? Like, you should always do that. And then, like, holding things hands. They should always, Superman figures should always come with a variety of hands. You know, open hands like this, flying hands like this, the fists, holding things hands, and then, like, you know, something like, you know, for action. But he's not bad. Now, let's get to the piece de resistance. I don't really have... There's not too many of them to talk about, but Masterverse is my shit. It's become my happy place over the years. Everything they release just about is my cup of tea, because I missed out on He-Man. I love a lot of things in the He-Man mythos, and I tend to make my He-Man universe a little bit darker than what it's supposed to be, because I just feel like too many of the characters are too goofy, and with names like something or man, or, you know what I'm saying, like, we need some hardcore something in there, you know? And plus I grew up on Conan and stuff, so for a long time I was doubling Conan figures as my He-Man characters, and they were bootleg Conan figures too, from the dollar store, Galaxy Warriors and shit like that. So yeah, so the new figures I picked up a long time ago, this was months ago, earlier in the year, I found Slushhead. It's pretty cool, even though I am not a fan of whatchamacallit. That was weird. I am not a fan of the New Adventures of He-Man. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm not a fan of the New Adventures of He-Man, but I did like a lot of the designs of the mutants. So getting Slushhead was cool. I love all this stuff going on with his backpack. One of the arms did break on me, so I just melted and fused it back together. You can see it right here. Kind of looks cool. But yeah, he looks like a menace, man, with all this going on. And he's got the cool axe gun. I like this. And overall, he's just a well done figure, you know, and considering they're still getting mileage out of this same body, it's pretty awesome. So there's that. Then there's Keldor. Sometimes I want to call him Kaldor. If you remember Kaldor, you know, props to you. I like the series that we've gotten. I didn't initially like them, but once you see all of it, like the first half and the second half, it makes more sense, you know? I will admit those choices that they made to practically kill off He-Man really pissed me off, because I'm like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? But they redeemed themselves in my eyes, and I think Revolution was well done. I loved this, especially since we knew who this was. They threw us off by giving him a separate voice actor, but it's kind of nice. Are we going to have a King Randor figure sometime soon? I would love that. And a Queen Marlena. Please do that. But this is cool. His helmet, his crown can come off. But that suave look and everything. I love the characterization, and I love the fact that they were able to kind of pull it off and then give you some backstory, you know, that was much needed for this part of that universe. So yeah, Keldor, it's pretty dope. I've never had a Keldor figure. I kind of wanted the one from 2000X, but then I was like, it's just Skeletor with a different head. This is kind of warranting a whole new figure. There's no wire in the cape, and the cape just goes around his arms. There's like a rubber band, you see right in here. 2 of them, one here and one on the other side. But I love it. It looks good. This is what I'm talking about when I say just make fun figures, man. You engineer them enough to do the things they do. He didn't fight, so he doesn't have double jointed elbows. He does have double jointed knees like everybody else, but there's hardly much paint other than what's on the tunic, and it works. I don't have any issues with that. So yeah, this guy's pretty damn awesome. And then lastly, before we get to the piece de resistance, I got Mechaneck. Mechaneck was my all-time favorite from when I was a child. He was the first He-Man character I ever saw, first figure I got. My dad actually found him on his way back to our apartment from the parking lot when I was a little kid. I don't know who dropped it or what the situation was, but he came back and he just had Mechaneck without his gear. And I played with this figure so much. I loved it. So I have the 2000X version, and I love this version as well. It's cool because his head, he's got more range of motion. And what they did was, instead of building the gimmick into the figure, they just gave you an accessory to allow you to, you know, extend his neck. So you can do that creepiness, you know, Mr. Fantastic style. I love it. It's so weird, but it works, you know. There was even an effect where you could pull off the top of this and then put the neck piece in here, and I'm like, why would I ever do that? So I glued this shut so this doesn't pop out, but you can see there's room for the hinge and all that. I don't know what that's referring to. I'm never gonna use that, so sorry. So anyway, Mechaneck is awesome. I did also get Teela and He-Man from Revolution. So it's Teela as the sorceress and He-Man, the new Battle Armor He-Man, and he's pretty dope. I'll probably do a review of him and Teela down the road because I plan on talking more about this line because I fucking love it. And I don't think they get the props they deserve. A lot of people kind of sleep on the line because they're so hardcore the original line, and I think that's it's just dumb. It's like, I get it, you can have nostalgia, but look at this. Look at this. How could you not be like impressed with a cultist version of Triclops? I mean, something actually happened since you last watched the show, and they gave you a whole new figure to symbolize that. Same thing with Trapjaw, you know? And you still have their classic looks. It's just you have clothes that you can put over them to achieve this look. I mean, how can this be a problem when you're given all this freedom to like kind of amp up what you got? But now we get to talk about Motherboard. Motherboard. I am geeked as fuck to get this figure. She's tall, beautiful paint job. The presentation is sick. The box opens out to what you see here. Actually, let me move them out the way a little bit more so you can see more of what I'm talking about. But it's just masterfully done, and considering it's one of the essentially somewhat crowdfunded Mattel products, they kind of use that money really well. In my opinion, they use the money really well. You're not necessarily getting a like something that's impossible, but you're just getting a little bit extra polish to make the figure a little bit more than what you normally get. So you can remove her from the stand, from the box. So you see the box. I'll close up the box so you can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll get back to talking about her. But the box has some beautiful artwork in it. You can see the artwork, and then you can close it up like so, and then it looks like the totem in the actual show, which is fucking phenomenal, you know? They really took the time to make this look legit, and I give them props for that, because a lot of other companies, Hasbro, wouldn't even bother. And then there's magnets in here so that it sticks to what you're, to the rest of the box. See? So, and then you can see down in the bottom, there's that cool little like node almost. Looks great. So then, let me move them out of the way, because apparently everybody wants to fall down and make noise while I am trying to look at the wonderful motherboard. Let's get them out the way. The subjects out of the way. The other figures out of the way, because we are at the end of the video. So she is amazing. The wings are amazing. I actually pulled these out everything is modular for the most part, so you can pull them out and you can put them back in and you can do all kinds of stuff with them. And then you can also turn the joint. Like, see how I'm turning her wing? And then you could turn this so that you can have the wings open out more if you want them to, which is exactly what I want. So look at that. I mean, like, that's beyond worth the price of admission, you know? And then to even get into more of the awesomeness, let me show you what she looks like from from the back. Show you from the back. I'm like, man, they did it up. Mattel is really good at these capes, these ornate, extra detailed, beautiful capes. Even when they're made of like less than stellar material, they still manage to make them look great. So there you go. Hopefully you're getting the full scope. I know that the wings are slightly larger than what we're used to, but look at the cape, right? And then underneath the cape, we'll pull this up just to get this out the way so you can see it. You have these cables. I mean, like, yo, I mean, come on, look at this. The cables all have the little plug on the end. It's just, and they're made of a nice rubber, like a very thick but pliable rubber. So these aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So you get the full effect with this figure as is, you know? The whole cape and kind of neck area, this whole thing, this collar, it all is removable. So you can remove it if you need to. I'm going to put her on an angle so we can get some light on her. Give me just a sec. Let's pull back a little bit. So, I mean, look at that. And again, that's her. And here is a standard Masterverse figure. We'll use Triclops. I mean, come on. For $60-something, like, you cannot beat that. A lot of people talk a lot of shit about like the difference between these and the classics, but the classics didn't give you this kind of value for what you were buying. You were always overpaying and you would always get less posability, less accessories, less paint. If anything, the one thing you got more of is paint, but oftentimes you didn't get that much paint, especially on the newer figures towards the end of the Motu Classics line. You weren't getting very much paint. It was just reused parts and a lot of sculpted detail and stuff. But yeah, I am impressed. Paint job is awesome. Her articulation is not terrible either. She's not like Spider-Man articulation, but I mean, she can do the splits with no problem. Not that I will ever have her doing the splits. The stand is really good. She doesn't have double jointed knees, which is my only gripe. But you can still get her to, if you want her to float, or at least look like she's floating, you can still do that. And like, I'm going to take her off the stand real quick so that I can show you. The stand is actually pretty cool. Look at that. Pretty nice stand, right? We'll put the stand in here for now. But I mean, just look. Look at that. So if you want to have her floating towards her subjects, you know, and you want to put the wings going back like so that it looks more like, you know, more the way you see in old artwork from various periods of our history, you could do that, you know. She looks so cool. The wings alone, because, you know, oftentimes companies fuck up the wings, and that frustrates me. But to have the wings on hinges that you can kind of turn wherever you want so that you can have the wings shielding them if you wanted, that's just, oh, so good. So sweet. If you know, you know. So sweet. So yeah, you can do that with the wings if you want. Her hands, it's the same deal. The hands, the joint for the hands is the same as the joint up here for the wings. You have the ball joint. Well, it's similar. Actually, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. It's not. But it is removable. She does come with some extra hands. It's a standard ball joint. It just mimics the look of the joints right here. But she's very posable. I wish that she had a pointing hand like this. That would be awesome. But other than that, I mean, look at her. Even the way they sculpted the feet, if you look closely, you can see they're sculpted like android feet or something. They just look, everything looks right. I think Mattel knocked this one out of the park. Now let's separate her from the neck piece. All of this is what's sitting on her neck. And you see all the body, you see all the parts. This is what pegs into her back. Show you her. So this is motherboard without all her gear on. She's still tall, very detailed. It's a simple design, It's not very like elaborate, but that's what I like about it. She got a little bit of donkey. They didn't go too crazy with the donkey. I mean, it is a donkey, but they didn't accentuate the donkey. Her back looks cool with that piece right here. You've got ribbing around her neck, the cool bright blue lines going throughout her body. I mean, she's dope. And then the head sculpt, it's like Tila as a robot almost. I'm impressed. Yellow lipstick, I've never seen that work. And it works. Usually I hate that. I hate the way that looks. And then it just fits. It's enough color to make the character look interesting. They knocked this out of the park, Say what you want to say about the Masterverse line. You can have your qualms. It may not be for you. It's too simple. You may not like the changes in Revolution, Revelation, etc. But it's great. I'm very happy with it. I love what they've done. And Motherboard is a great addition to my rogues. And I can't wait to get the new school Hordak from Revelation. And yeah, and the Skeletor from Revelation. Or Revolution, I'm sorry. I'm kind of anxious to get him too. But yeah, this is all quality, man. This is all quality. If you don't see what I'm showing you as quality, something is wrong. You are missing something. Something is up with you if you don't see this quality. Like I said, it doesn't have to be your cup of tea. Like, if you don't want to collect the line, don't collect the line. No one's saying you should or you have to. I mean, it's a good line, but if you can't see what makes this figure quality, then something is wrong with you. Something is terribly wrong with you. Actually, let me pull back farther. Because this is quality. Any way you slice it, this is fucking quality. A large figure with really cool paint, decent articulation. She's not very, what's the word? Fragile feeling. She feels very, look at that. She feels like substantial. Let's turn her towards the light so you can see more of her. I mean, that right there is quality. Any way you slice it, she is quality. Look at that. I don't know, guys. I think they did the damn thing. That is essentially gonna do it for me. I think they knocked it out of the park. I think they did all the things that they needed to do to make this figure quality. I think that for those of you who are on the fence about Masterverse, this should be an example of why the line is worth your money, why it's worth your attention. And I don't know what else to tell you. It's just a quality line. Quality in every way, shape, and form. I really dig just about everything about this figure, you know? And I'm surprised that, you're not seeing more people. I know it's been a while since the figure came out. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get this figure, If you're a fan of Motu, she's a must get. $60 or below. Sometimes I've seen her for a little bit more than that, but I mean $60 or $70 is kind of worth it, especially if you get her in the box. I got her in her whole everything, the whole box, the mailer, everything, with the stand, the extra hands. She's perfect, man. I don't have any issues with her. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me. You guys have been great. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole thing, and stay tuned for more cool videos. I'm going to be showing you some more stuff about SWAT 2249 and some more just, design type diaries, because that's pretty much what's taken up the majority of my time. And if I'm going to be making videos, I want to make videos on things that I'm actually enjoying, as opposed to just making videos about the shit that I buy. So, keep an eye out for that. A lot of people are making videos about artwork, but they're not really talking about the realities of making the art. You know what I mean? Especially when it's representational and it's commercial in some nature. And I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty about that stuff for those of you who are interested. And that's going to do it for me. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will catch you on the next video. Peace outside.